Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Global Martial Arts. Kill enemies and explode your cultivation. Chapter 81. There are countless strange seaweeds all around. When Li Mu stepped into this unknown land, he felt many unkind glances. At this moment, a sea vine as thick as a cement pillar whipped towards Li Mu. Swish! The sword light flashed, and Hai Tang was instantly torn into pieces. Li Mu's clear eyes suddenly flashed with a violent look. His heart tightened, he took a deep breath and quickly suppressed the manic emotions in his heart. Li Mu had a solemn look on his face and did not dare to be careless. There's something weird about this place. Before this, his heart was very calm, but after stepping here, many negative emotions emerged in his heart. Li Mu stuck to his heart and continued to delve deeper. In the hazy fog, many dark shadows flashed past. The moment Li Mu drew his sword, the black shadows dissipated like mist. It was as if they were like ghosts in legend. Li Mu went deeper, and in the hazy clouds, he saw an extremely large creature. The huge octopus waved its feet, sweeping away the storm like a sky-lifting foot. It is as big as a mountain, with hundreds of huge octopus legs flying all over the sky. The deep eyes seemed to be able to swallow up all the abyss. Beizu Magic Chapter looked at Li Mu with a deep look, and there was a hint of contempt. Looking at him, Li Mu was suddenly enveloped in crisis. Due to his gaze, Li Mu's feet exploded, and the entire sea area shook at this moment. Centipedes were flying all over the sky, stirring the sea area, and countless currents turned into waterspouts and squeezed towards Li Mu. The lightning flashed and the sword fell into the void. There was a sound of thunder, followed by a dazzling thunder light. Caused by the sword light, hundreds of waterspouts exploded. Interesting. Beizu Magic Chapter made an old voice and looked at Li Mu with interest. Li Mu's expression was cold, his murderous intent was constantly boiling, and his whole body was filled with a sharp meaning. There is no feeling of the majesty of heaven and earth of the venerable beast before. The huge octopus in front of me is definitely not the venerable beast. The void shook, and an inexplicable vast sword intent swept out. The 100-foot sword light was released like a torrent. The 100-foot demon chapter was completely submerged in the sword light. Under the destructive power of the sword light, the huge body was gradually annihilated. In the deep sea, a shocking abyss ditch emerged. Li Mu's expression turned away, and then a ferocious look appeared on his face. The burst of blood power suppressed the mania in his heart. Can't stay here for long. If he continues like this, he will become a monster that has lost his mind. Must be as soon as possible. But just when he was ready to move on, suddenly, a sea current like a tsunami hit us. Li Mu looked shocked and looked at the 100-footed magic metal on the other side in disbelief. How is that possible? Are there two? But the place before was clearly empty. Bang! Blocking it with a knife, the huge force bounced the octopus's feet away. Li Mu looked at the 100-footed magic metal in front of him with a solemn expression. Not the other one, but the one he just killed came back to life. Your strength is better than mine, but even so you can't beat me. I am immortal. You have a strong willpower, at least the second strongest person I have ever seen. Second person. Li Mu had already guessed something. Soon, a cold smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Even if you are immortal, you can still feel the pain. Beizu Ma Shang's tone was stagnant, and he suddenly shuddered inexplicably. What do you want to do? Swish! Another wave of soaring sword intent swept away, and the 100-footed demonic chapter was once again submerged in the billowing light of the sword. A few seconds later, his huge figure emerged again from the mist. Beizu Ma Shang shouted angrily. What do you want to do, you fool? Without saying anything, another burst of sword light flashed through, and hundreds of octopus legs gathered into an iron wall and emitted light. However, this vast sword intent was simply not something that the octopuses could resist. The centipede magic chapter was eliminated again. After the resurrection, Beizu Ma Shang's eyes were full of anger and he made an extremely suppressed voice. What on earth do you want to do? Are you here just to make fun of me? Beizu Ma Shang cursed secretly in his heart. Why doesn't this fool brat lose his mind? Although he is so young, he actually has such huge willpower. Just as scary as that person back then. Of course not. At this time, Li Mu finally stopped attacking Beizu Magic Chapter. You said I was the second person before, so is he the first person? Li Mu took out the photo. Beizu Ma Xiang's huge eyes suddenly stared, looking at the familiar person in the photo in disbelief. That's right, it's him. What is that thing in your hand? Why is he on this small object? Could it be? Did you seal him away? The corners of Li Mu's mouth twitched slightly. This old octopus seems to be an antique. Don't worry so much. Let me ask you, is he still alive? What did he do here back then? Li Mu originally thought that Beizu Magic Chapter would not give an honest explanation. But surprisingly, Beizu Magic Chapter was very cooperative. Because it is afraid of seals. He was still alive when he left. Although he finally lost his mind, he left the place of death for some reason. As for the rest, Beizu Ma Xiang gritted his teeth after saying that. He took away my treasure, the sea-suppressing pearl. Junhai Divine Pearl. What is that? An artifact. Artifact. Li Mu's eyes changed drastically and his expression was dull. His father took away an artifact. Is this possible? The sea-suppressing divine pearl has the ability to control the sea. The person who obtains the sea-suppressing divine pearl is the master of the sea. Just control the sea. The ability is indeed very strong, but it is just that. It is not difficult for the venerable to control the sea. His father has left. Who is stronger, me or him? He suppressed me with just a thought. Your strength is not on the same level as his. A thought. Li Mu remembered what Mr. Shen said. The venerable can destroy the world with just one thought. Could it be that his father is the venerable? Kid, what's your relationship with him? Li Mu was silent for a while. Father and son. Beizu Magic Chapter's eyes changed slightly, and he whispered, no wonder, it turns out they are an old monster and a little monster. After a second thought, Beizu Ma Xiang looked at Li Mu warily again. You little monster, don't you also want to steal my treasure? Although I don't know how you persisted, the fog will have an increasing impact on you as time goes by. At that time, you will not be yourself. Li Mu looked at the 100-footed magic seal. He was not interested in those so-called treasures. He was just curious about what these fogs were. But when the strange feeling in his heart came over again, Li Mu's eyes turned scarlet. In an instant, there was lightning and thunder, and Li Mu turned into lightning and disappeared from the Beizu Demon Chapter's eyes. At the entrance to the land of death, thunder surrounded Li Mu. His eyes were scarlet, and his heart was occupied by an unprecedented mania. The sea creatures passing by were turned into sashimi under the light of the knife. Li Mu's eyes were red, and in this state, Li Mu was like a devil who had lost his mind. The violent storm destroyed everything, the surrounding coral jungle turned into powder, and the marine life turned into flesh. The surrounding area turned into a scarlet blood pool, filled with the smell of blood. Li Mu clenched his fists, and the color in his eyes kept changing. The next moment, a huge coercion exploded, and an invisible storm swept away everything around him. Li Mu's eyes gradually became clear and he was breathing heavily. Looking more tired than ever. Looking into the fog of the land of death, Li Mu's eyes revealed a deep fear. If he stayed for one more minute, he might become an irrational monster. After his father came out, he was still the father he knew. Since you are still alive, why don't you come to find yourself? The fluctuations in the land of death attracted the sea monster. The sirens looked at Li Mu with fear in their eyes, but when they saw Li Mu's weak appearance, they became cautious again. The unkind gaze made Li Mu sneer in his heart. Dogs can't change eating shit. Suddenly, behind Li Mu, the invisible sea monster raised its trident and suddenly dropped it. But before the trident could fall on Li Mu, the huge yuan force squeezed the space and crushed the trident. Li Mu grabbed the man's neck and looked at the sea monsters with cold eyes. Click. The sneak attack sea monster tilted its neck and was thrown out like garbage by Li Mu. It was you who forced me to go on a killing spree. Li Mu grinned, and the terrifying smile made the sirens shudder. The lightning trembled, and the thunder swept across. The gathered sea monsters didn't know what happened, but their bodies were torn apart by the thunder. Li Mu grinned, and as the blood filled the air, the smile on his face became brighter. Wails and screams are endless. Li Mu is like a ruthless harvesting machine. Harvest one life after another. Although the Kraken guards who arrived were extremely powerful, they were squeezed by the current and fell. With their strength, other grandmasters may be affected by the environment and may not be opponents. But they were facing Li Mu. The thunderous blades burst into waves, ruthlessly tearing apart the sea currents. An afterimage passed by, the siren guard's blood bloomed, and a hole was torn on his body. Unknowingly, Li Mu's eyes turned red again. This time even he didn't notice it. Warning, warning, unknown will intrusion detected, protection program started. The protection program is activated and the erasure begins. Li Mu, who was going crazy, suddenly froze, and the scarlet color in his eyes gradually faded. The smell of blood that rushed into his nose shocked him, and he was stunned when he saw the scene in front of him. Mountains of Kraken corpses appeared before his eyes, and more than half of the Kraken city was dyed bright red by him. The smell of blood was extremely pungent, and his body was stained with countless sirens' blood. All around, the sea monsters did not dare to approach Li Mu, their eyes filled with fear. In front of them, Li Mu is a devil, and an executioner who kills everyone regardless of risk. Li Mu took a deep breath to suppress his fluctuating emotions. Looking at the Krakens without saying anything, they looked over the Kraken city. The huge whirlpool emerged again. Li Mu remained silent, glanced at it, rushed into the whirlpool, and disappeared from the siren's sight. The sea monsters stared blankly at the disappearing whirlpool, and they didn't come back to their senses for a long time. After leaving the siren's whirlpool, Li Mu's face was extremely gloomy. He was affected again. At that moment, his will was affected by something unknown. He just wants to kill those who threaten his existence. Disinfection procedures. It was the system that blocked him. If he never wakes up, will he become a monster that destroys everything? On the coast of Bermuda, Fuchi and several masters were very anxious. A full week passed, and they still couldn't find Li Mu. He sent people to watch the coast day and night and sent people into the sea to search. Even several masters went to sea in person. But they didn't see Li Mu's shadow after they went into the sea. There was no news for a week, which made several people's moods sink to the bottom. Fuchi sighed. Shouldn't he tell Li Mu the news about his father? Suddenly at this moment, a column of water suddenly burst out of the sea level, and everyone was shocked and looked wary. Fuchi looked at the bloody figure and his pupils suddenly shrank. It's Li Mu. Everyone was shocked and looked at the blood shadow in the sky. Such murderous intent, what on earth has he experienced? There must be no living creatures in the Bermuda Sea for a long time. Li Mu looked at Fuchi and said slowly, "Old Fu, I'm in trouble. I need to change my clothes." "Oh, I'll make arrangements right away." When he arrived at the place, Li Mu scrubbed himself several times before washing away the blood on his body. As for those clothes, the blood on them can no longer be washed off. Li Mu looked at himself in the mirror and felt the surging energy in his body. Yuanli has increased again. It seems that I have reached a bottleneck, and I am only one step away from becoming the Venerable One. Li Mu changed his clothes and came to the living room. Thinking back to his father. He never thought that his father might be a venerable. The venerable is a strong man who looks down upon Kyushu, a figure who conquers the stars. It should not be unknown. After leaving the deep sea city, where will he go? Li Mu exhaled a breath to clear away his irritable mood. One step at a time. At least we have some information now. Galaxy Holy Courtyard, in the temple. A bunch of despicable villains. They openly broke the contract and attacked our Starry Sky stronghold. If you want me to see it, you should kill them. Use their blood to tell those aliens that the dignity of Kyushu cannot be trampled on at will. Several pavilion elders in the temple were extremely angry because several strongholds in the Kyushu Starry Sky were attacked by the divine martial arts. They lost 2 venerables and some Starry Sky weapons. Hailao looked gloomy and squeezed out a few words through his teeth. Sooner or later, those fools will pay the price. Now we in Kyushu are not only being targeted by the Shenwu world. There are other races in the Starry Sky. Not long ago, another ethnic group known as the Barbarians appeared in the Kyushu Starry Sky. They are also eyeing us in Kyushu. All the angry pavilion elders looked gloomy again. How come their Kyushu looks like a fat piece of meat? How come anyone can target their Kyushu? Li Mu hasn't come back yet. The silent Mr. Shen suddenly spoke. That kid entered the Bermuda Sea, and there is no news yet. Hey, that kid is also a restless person. I hope he won't be in any danger. Another pavilion elder said in a deep voice. The foreign battlefield is about to start. If he can't arrive in time, we will suffer a big loss against the people from the divine martial arts world. In the scientific research room, Yao Yao was lying on the table melancholy. Teacher, when will junior brother come back? The two senior brothers are so annoying, I don't want to play with them. Xie Given in the wheelchair has gray hair on his temples and wrinkles on his face. He now looks like an old man who is about to enter the old age. Soon, the foreign battlefield is about to begin, and he should be back soon. At this moment, Shiji walked in happily, with an excited look on his face. Teacher, Zhu Guo, it's Zhu Guo, eat him quickly. This red fruit is a rare treasure from heaven and earth and will definitely help you regain some strength. Xie Given was moved but did not accept it. He shook his head and said, you should keep these things to yourself. I know my situation clearly, and now I am already a candle in the wind. Shiji's body suddenly shook and he clenched his fists. It's all our fault. If we hadn't left the Holy Academy, teacher, how would you have behaved like this? Xie Given sighed helplessly. Even if you come back, the ending will be the same. The Shenwu world is coming fiercely. Even if you are in the Holy Court, they will think of other ways. Quote, maybe this is my destiny. Xie Given was worried that Shiji and Gong Yuxuan would be stressed due to guilt, so he comforted them. You little brats just like to take some responsibility for yourselves. There are some responsibilities that you don't need to bear. The responsibility of protecting the instructors and elders of the Holy Academy. You are still just students. Even the Grand Master is still a student of the Holy Academy. Shiji felt powerless in his heart, and a wry smile appeared on his lips. It's so annoying. Stinky Shiji makes the atmosphere so depressing every day. It's so sad. Why don't you come back, junior brother? I want to play with junior brother. Yao Yao looked angry and pouted with dissatisfaction. However, both Xie Given and Shiji noticed Yao Yao's moist and reddish eyes. In the mist, Li Mu, half a step behind the Venerable, tried to open the dimensional space. But every attempt failed. In theory, Venerable Banbu was still considered a master. I'm afraid you have to really master the so-called mighty power of heaven and earth to open up the dimensional space. Arrive. In the sea of clouds, Li Mu looked down at the holy courtyard and smiled lightly. At the entrance of the scientific research room, Shiji was planning to take Xie Given for a walk elsewhere. Suddenly a figure fell from the sky. When Yao Yao saw Li Mu, he immediately beamed and shouted in surprise. Little junior brother. Yao Yao flew into Li Mu's arms. The oncoming fragrant wind caught Li Mu off guard. Junior brother, you are finally back. Yao Yao raised his head and stared, his pitiful eyes looking directly at Li Mu. Just come back. Xie Given smiled lightly. Li Mu coughed dryly and looked at Yao Yao under him in embarrassment. Is it time to let go, Yao Yao? Only then did Yao Yao realize that something was wrong and quickly let go of his hands, with a rare blush on his face. Shiji looked at Yao Yao with a meaningful smile on his face. Teacher. Li Mu looked at Xie Given, whose appearance changed drastically, with a complicated expression. It has only been a few months, but it has become like this. Don't be so sad. I'm not dead yet. Why do you all come back with sad faces? Teacher. Shiji shouted dissatisfied. Li Mu thought for a moment and thought. Many natural treasures from the storage belt flew out like a waterfall and piled up in front of everyone's eyes. After reading Given, Shiji looked at the mountains of treasures and was stunned for a moment. Li Mu, did you rob someone's treasure house? Where did these precious treasures come from? Shiji looked at it in shock. This was the first time in his life that he saw mountains of treasures. They are all harvested from the secret realm. I don't have any use for these things. Li Mu looked at Xie Given and said slowly, Teacher, I know that your injury cannot be cured casually, but these treasures of heaven and earth can at least restore some of your vitality, teacher, and delay the backlash. No matter what you say, teacher, I will never take back these treasures of heaven and earth. Xie Given's words were stuck as soon as he reached his mouth. Seeing the serious expression on Li Mu's face, he had no choice but to accept it. Now that you are back, go to the temple as soon as possible. Everyone in the temple has been looking forward to your return. Li Mu looked confused. No need to ask, you will know when you go there. Li Mu nodded after hearing this, and in an instant he turned into an afterimage and disappeared from the eyes of several people. In the temple, the elders are still discussing the foreign battlefield. Then a voice came into the ears of the elders. Is there something urgent that Mr. Zhu is looking for me for? The elders of the pavilion were shocked, and looked at Li Mu and suddenly smiled. Your boy is finally back. Mr. Shen couldn't help laughing. Li Mu looked at the elders and smiled, and then the elders of the Doge performed the venerable salute. We already know what happened to you in the Bermuda secret realm. It has only been a few months, and it really makes us old guys look at us in a new light. With your strength as a master, no one can rival you. Li Mu just smiled at Mr. Zhu's compliments, and then asked, why did Mr. Zhu come to see me? The smiles on the faces of Hai Lao and others disappeared, and their expressions became serious. I came to you to let you know about the foreign battlefield in advance. An alien battlefield? What is that place? Li Mu asked with a puzzled look. It's where we fight against the young geniuses in the divine martial arts world. Based on your strength, even their most powerful genius may not be your opponent. But this time, the Shenwu community has put forward a condition, that is, this hunting competition does not matter life or death, and no one can be held responsible if there are casualties. Those guys in the Shenwu world want to kill the geniuses of our Kyushu. After listening, Li Mu also understood the general idea, and then asked after being silent for a while. Who is participating this time, Ebi? The chiefs, and your two senior brothers. Another of the venerable pavilion elders said again. The geniuses in the divine martial arts world are not easy to deal with. It is said that many of them have learned heaven-level martial arts. In terms of martial arts, our Kyushu lags behind the world of divine martial arts. Hai Lao looked at the silent Li Mu and said, Li Mu, what do you think? I don't have any opinion. However, I have an opinion. After hearing this, Hai Lao and others' expressions changed slightly. It doesn't matter if you say so. Li Mu suddenly showed a smile and said confidently, why don't you let me participate in this overseas hunting alone? I promise, I will make the Shenwu world regret this decision. A cold wind blew through the temple, and looking at the smile on Li Mu's face, even the elder Jie present felt an icy chill. This brat, seems like he's going to do something big. There was a deep look of shock in Mr. Ji's eyes. Mainly because what Li Mu said was so surprising and crazy. No, it's too risky. The Shenwu world must be prepared this time, and we cannot let you face them alone. Especially you, I suspect this time the Shenwu world changed the rules just for you. The smile on Li Mu's face did not diminish, but became more relaxed. Isn't that good? When they come, I will catch them all. Hai Lao sighed in his heart. After all, he was too young. Li Mu's martial arts path was too easy and he didn't know how to keep a low profile and bide his time. Boom! At this second, Li Mu's eyes narrowed, and terrifying pressure filled the temple. The half-step master level Wia occupied the entire hall, and a raging storm greeted him. Hai Lao's eyes widened instantly and he looked at Li Mu in horror. The elders were not shocked, they were completely shocked by Li Mu. Half-step venerable. Li Mu is already a half-step venerable. And he is not just a half-step master, but a half-step master who is only one step away from the master. All it takes is a suitable moment for Li Mu to break through the venerable. Become a strong man occupying a place in the starry sky. Boss, are you relieved now? Li Mu's smile was still confident. At this moment, Zhu Lao only felt something stuck on their necks. Looking at Li Mu and the others, they were unable to speak for a while. When did you reach the half-step venerable realm? Hai Lao was trembling as he spoke, and for a moment he was so shocked that he couldn't even speak. Not long ago, Li Mu replied calmly. The elders looked at Li Mu for a long time before coming back to their senses. Mr. Hai wiped his forehead with cold sweat, and his eyes gradually became horrified. It's really shocking. With your breakthrough speed, you can even use heavenly beings to move. I'm afraid it will take 1,000 years for our Kyushu to give birth to a genius like you. Ebi's tone gradually became excited. The birth of a monster like Li Mu in Kyushu is a sign of their great prosperity in Kyushu. In the future, facing the divine martial arts world, and even the so-called starry sky barbarians, all of them in Kyushu are qualified to be on an equal footing with them. Even beyond, it's just a trivial matter. What Hai Lao said is too exaggerated. Now, do you all agree to let me add ginseng alone? The elders looked at each other, unable to make a decision for a while. The decision-making power rests with Hai Lao. If Hai Lao agrees, they have no other opinions. Hai Lao looked confused and looked at Li Mu seriously. Do you really want to be alone? Well, that's my confidence. Ebi Lao, this time I will give the Shenwu world an unforgettable scene. Hai Lao hesitated again and squeezed out a few words through his teeth. Okay, I promise you. The smile on Li Mu's face became brighter and brighter. If only the young prodigy from the divine martial arts world could see it. It is estimated that he will be enveloped by an icy chill in an instant. What, Ebi, are you serious? At night, Hai Lao came to Xie Given's residence and told him Li Mu's decision to face the Shenwu world alone. At this time, Xie Given roared loudly, with an angry look on his face. None of the geniuses in the world of divine martial arts are simple figures. Yes, he has outstanding talent. It is not an exaggeration to say that he is the most evil genius since the beginning of Kyushu. But how could you agree to such a ridiculous thing and leave him alone? To face everything alone. He is already a half-step venerable. So what if the half-step master? Forehead. After Xie Given reacted, his pupils suddenly dilated and he stared at Hai Lao in disbelief. What did you just say? Hai Lao sighed. He is already a half-step venerable. Gulu. Xie Given couldn't help but swallowed. Are you kidding me? Do you think I need to joke with you about this kind of thing? Hai Lao couldn't help but rolled his eyes. Xie Given couldn't help it at this time and suddenly took a breath of cold air. How did he do it? I want to know too. From the time he entered school until now, he has lived like a legend. Perhaps he can bring dazzling glory to Kyushu and become more prosperous than ever before. But, Master Banbu, don't misunderstand me. The half-step venerable I am talking about is the half-step venerable who is only one step away from becoming a venerable. With his foundation, it doesn't matter if he is one of the geniuses in the world of divine martial arts. The Shenwu society will pay the price for this arrogance. They must repay the loss of the holy court. Hai Lao took a sip of the hot tea in his hand and said with lingering fear, to put it bluntly, Li Mu actually gave me an inexplicable pressure at that time. Hiss. Xie Given took another breath, feeling even more shocked. Even you. A few days later, Li Mu completely adapted to the 100 times gravity in the gravity chamber. Under the condition of 100 times gravity, the burden on Li Mu was already minimal. All his body skills have also entered the realm of perfection. As for the martial arts he has mastered so far, except for heaven-level martial arts, all earth-level martial arts have reached a perfect state. In front of Li Mu, even the so-called strongest genius in the divine martial arts world would pale in comparison to Li Mu. It's time to go. In the temple, Hai Lao was waiting for Li Mu to arrive. Li Mu stepped into the temple and saw that only Hai Lao was the only one in the temple. He asked doubtfully, Hai Lao, where are the other pavilion elders? Several saints convened a starry sky council, and several of them attended. So that's it. Are you ready? Hai Lao said solemnly. Li Mu nodded. Hai Lao opened the dimensional channel, and Li Mu followed Hai Lao to the foreign battlefield. The foreign battlefield is a steel forest opened up by the changes in the dimensional space caused by the Saints' War. Any plants here are as hard as steel, and strange creatures are born among them, and their strength is extraordinary. Not long after, Li Mu and Hai Lao walked out of the entrance. What comes into view is the huge steel square, the residual pressure of the saint coming towards you, and the eternal fighting spirit. Li Mu's expression couldn't help but change. And on the other side, the dimensional space cracked. A middle-aged man in ancient clothes and a dozen young geniuses walked towards Li Mu in a flamboyant manner. Old man Hai, it's been so many years, how come you're not dead yet, old man? As soon as they met Li Mu, he smelled a strong smell of gunpowder. Hai Lao sneered and said sarcastically, you are not dead yet, how can I die again? I will watch you die in front of me with my own eyes. Ha 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 ha, is it just you? You don't know the current situation in Kyushu, right? If it weren't for the restrictions imposed by a few of you, Jojo would be nothing but clay dolls in front of our Shenwu interface. The middle-aged man glanced at Li Mu again and smiled even more sarcastically. Isn't your Kyushu known as a vast territory with abundant resources? What? There's only one genius who can do it. Then you Jojo are too inferior. The geniuses in the divine martial arts world also laughed arrogantly. At this time, Li Mu stood up and said domineeringly, "It's not just one person who can take action, but only one person in Kyushu can suppress you." The young geniuses in the Shinwu world were all stunned, and then they couldn't help laughing. "Uncle Master, did you just hear that? He said it only takes one person to suppress us. Oh, I'm really scared. I like your character, kid. I hope you won't kneel in front of me later and beg me to spare your life. It's really boring. I thought I could kill the natives of Kyushu, but I didn't expect Kyushu to be so cowardly that they only sent one unknown soldier." No one cared about the sneer on Li Mu's face. Maybe they didn't take Li Mu seriously. "Okay, stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and end this boring farce." The middle-aged man glanced at Hai Lao provocatively, with a look of ridicule on his face. Li Mu looked at Hai Lao with a gloomy face, and said slowly, "Hai Lao, don't worry. They will pay the price for their arrogance. By then, it will be too late for the venerable master of the divine martial arts world to cry." "Good, Li Mu, we must teach them a lesson. Best, kill them all. They will also be our enemies in Kyushu in the future." Li Mu nodded. He knows how to do this kind of thing even without saying it. In the Iron Forest, all the geniuses from the divine martial arts world teleported in. They looked relaxed and without any pressure, as if they were just traveling. "We should think about how to torture that fish. A mere native dares to speak nonsense in front of us. It would be too cheap to kill him. It's not as good as us." Several people began to discuss, and after the discussion, they all showed extremely cold smiles. They want to capture and torture, just like the games they play with slaves. If you don't kill, let the other party be immersed in endless fear. What kind of geniuses from Kyushu are just like chickens and dogs in front of their divine martial arts world? Li Mu stroked the knife marks and sword marks left in the steel forest. These are the wills left by those warriors. The extraterritorial battlefield has never been cleaned since it was opened, and the bloodstains remaining in it are clearly visible. You can smell a faint smell of blood when you step into it. Li Mu straightened his collar, took out his two swords, and turned into a burst of lightning and disappeared into the steel forest. The hunt begins. The Lord of the Divine Martial World couldn't help but change his expression when he saw the lightning shining in the Iron Forest. The 9th level body technique that reaches the realm of the gods. This kid, Tongshan, is what Kyushu calls the perfect state. The face of the venerable master in the world of divine martial arts gradually became serious. At such an age as the 9th level divine master, none of the people he brought had the ability to reach the realm of the gods. But he wasn't worried, because all the disciples under the sect have mastered the same earth-level body skills. A group of people from the Shinwu realm were roaming in the Iron Forest, and suddenly a rumble of thunder reached their ears. A dazzling thunder light flashed in the air, and a burst of sword light rushed towards him. "Not good. Hide quickly." The sword glowed like a waterfall, thunder exploded on the ground, and the steel trees in front were chopped off by the sword glow. Smoke and dust billowed up, filling the surrounding area. Several people looked frightened, and the sword intent surrounding them changed their expressions drastically. It's the native from Kyushu. In the hazy smoke and dust, Li Mu stood alone in front of several people, and then made a provocative move. One of them shot away with a flash of sword, and the sword light was dazzling. It was like a rainbow lighting up the steel forest. Clang! The swords and knives came into contact, and dazzling sparks burst out. Li Mu raised his head and stared at the other person with cold eyes. That's it. With one move of the sword, the light of the sword turned into a bright moon and submerged the opponent. The ground beneath his feet collapsed, and the light of the sword was as powerful as a flood opening. Like a wild beast emerging from prison, it cannot be resisted. Tear! An arm fell to the ground. Li Mu couldn't help but frown, and saw that the jade pendant around the other person's neck was broken, and he instantly understood. There is a treasure protecting you. The world of Shinwu is really extremely rich. Breeze. The geniuses in the martial arts world were dumbfounded when they saw the bloody arm. Only then did they realize that Li Mu was not the prey they said he was. Be careful, this Kyushu native is weird. Qingfeng gritted his teeth, twisted ferociously, and looked at him with hatred, wanting to devour Li Mu. Having lost half of his arm, almost half of his martial arts path was ruined. How could he not hate Li Mu? Qingfeng's arm stopped bleeding, and Yuanli sealed the wound. Natives, you actually hurt Qingfeng. One of the women with flaming red hair and a dazzling figure roared angrily at Li Mu. If Li Mu's guess is correct, that lioness should be Qingfeng's horse. You guys come together. Li Mu looked relaxed, as if he was facing a group of chickens and dogs that could be dealt with at will. Arrogant. The silver spear soared into the sky, and the violent yuan power turned into silver snakes that filled the sky and bit into Li Mu fiercely. Li Mu's expression was calm, and his expression remained unchanged in the face of the powerful martial arts. Shocking fist. The shocking fist that has not been used for a long time appears again. With a punch, the violent energy shook the void, and the deafening explosion filled the steel forest. In an instant, it seemed as if the entire outer battlefield was shaking. The space was squeezed and deformed by the huge force, and the silver that danced all over the sky turned into nothing. The face of the man who attacked Li Mu suddenly changed. Just a simple punch, but it actually gave rise to a feeling of being unable to resist. The smoke and dust exploded, and the man couldn't resist the shaking fist and flew straight out until he hit a giant steel tree. Li Mu frowned slightly. He clearly saw the yellow protective shield protecting the man at the moment of impact. This group of little kids in the martial arts world, surely everyone has an amulet. Kill. Everyone recovered from the shock, and everyone had murderous intent in their eyes. Sword shadows are flying all over the sky, and the approaching sword light is like a bright moon rising. The whip that danced wildly exploded into flames and turned into a poisonous snake biting Li Mu. The geniuses of the divine martial arts world showed their magical powers and were determined to kill Li Muzhen here. However, the strange thing is that Li Mu had no intention of dodge at all. In an instant, his body shone like a star, and the dazzling starlight illuminated the entire steel forest. He is like a rising star, untouchable. Boom! The ground exploded with a bang, and smoke and dust 100 meters high exploded. Li Mu took the attack from everyone in the Shenwu world head-on. Several people looked solemnly, looking at the collapsed sinkhole, with murderous intent still unabated in their hearts. Arrogant guy. I really think that I am invincible. If I bear the martial arts of a few of us head-on, I will become a dead dog even if I don't die. Arrogant guy, pay the price for your arrogance. Then it's time for us to torture. As soon as he finished speaking, a bolt of thunder burst out from the void. The leader's face suddenly changed and he shouted to the person on the right. Lin Feng, be careful. What? Lin Feng still didn't understand what was happening, he only felt that the world in front of him was spinning. His consciousness was gradually disappearing, and he watched his body fall to the ground. Only then did Lin Feng realize that he was dead. Li Mu turned his back to everyone in the Shenwu world, shook off the blood on the blade, and revealed a stern profile. If you only have this kind of strength, then I'm sorry to tell you. Today all of you are going to die. At this moment, time seems to be frozen. Watching all this, the expression of the venerable Shenwu realm changed greatly, and he looked at Li Mu with a gloomy look. I thought this was just a farce, but now their man is dead. Is there such a terrifying genius in Kyushu? Suddenly, the middle-aged venerable suddenly remembered what his colleagues had said. He suddenly recalled it and looked at Li Mu in disbelief. Could he be that monster from Kyushu? At this moment, the young geniuses in the Shenwu world can no longer be arrogant. Congratulations on killing Lin Feng and losing 3 years of cultivation. The endless power exuded from Li Mu made them take a few steps back. Cold murderous intent enveloped them. At this moment, they felt as if they were in an ice cellar, like ice sculptures standing there dumbly. Li Mu looked at the lost genius of the divine martial arts world with a trace of disdain on his lips. Eyes full of fear fell on Li Mu. Lin Feng's death completely crushed the arrogance of these talented people to the ground. Why don't you attack us? Then I won't be polite. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Mu swept through thousands of troops and used thunder to move 9,000. The thunder light bloomed like the light of day, looming among the crowd as if there was no one in it. A prodigy from the world of divine martial arts raised his heavy axe and dropped it with great force. One blow was enough to penetrate a mountain. Quang! The heavy axe flew in the air, and the cold blade penetrated his chest. There was a scream, and another person fell in a pool of blood. Inflicted by the sword light, no one survived. The dazzling sword light was like a brilliant firework. No one could resist the sword light when it fell. Even one of them inspired the power of blood and exuded endless power. In this state, Li Mu could not keep up with the speed of Lei Dong's 3,000 perfect movements. Qingfeng, who had his arm cut off, was even more overwhelmed. In a moment, a deep red blood mark appeared on his neck. His eyes widened, full of unwillingness and resentment, and blood surged like a fountain, scaring the rest of the people out of their wits. The Venerable's pressure fell heavily, and the entire steel forest was shrouded in pressure. Shangguanong, what do you want to do? Ebi's body exuded endless power, and the overwhelming pressure was like a mountain torrent crushing him away. Shangguan Hong's face was gloomy, and he gritted his teeth and said, "You Jojo are cheating." Cheating? Hai Lao's face finally showed a strong sarcastic look. Isn't it because you are incompetent in the world of divine martial arts? If you think there's something wrong, you might as well take a look at the child's bone age to see if he's cheating. You. Upon hearing the other party's taunt, Shangguan Hong's face suddenly turned the color of pig's liver, and he looked at Li Mu with murderous intent in his eyes. His colleagues were right, the monsters of Kyushu would never let him live. Once this kid becomes a saint, he will be a serious problem in the world of gods and martial arts. Boom boom boom. 18 thunderbolts derived from the long sword fell from the sky and struck Li Mu. The loud sound echoed through the steel forest. The ground Li Mu was standing on suddenly collapsed and collapsed. The young genius at the head looked horrified and gasped for air. This is a talisman left by his family for him to protect himself. This kind of power should be dead, right? However, at this moment, a hazy shadow slowly walked out of the smoke. Seeing this figure, the young geniuses in the Shenwu world suddenly widened their eyes and felt like they were suffocating. Impossible! What kind of monster are you? The genius of the divine martial arts world screamed loudly, and the huge pressure forced him to attack Li Mu again. The long sword flew across the sky, and thunder gathered around him. The blue thunder in the sky was like a silver snake dancing wildly, biting towards Li Mu. Li Mu's expression remained unchanged, and with one step, he disappeared from everyone's eyes in an instant. The moment the sword light passed through the void, a head flew high into the air. Another person fell in a pool of blood. The geniuses in the divine martial arts world finally collapsed and shouted in horror at the sky, "Uncle Master! Uncle Master! We won't participate! We won't participate! Let me out! Let us out! I don't want to die! I want to die! Uncle Master!" Shangguan Hong's face was gloomy. He wanted to take action, but Hai Lao blocked him with endless power. "Old guy, get out of here!" Hai Lao's expression was gloomy, and the aura of the 5th grade venerable was overwhelmingly overwhelming. The pressure of the 5th grade venerable made Shangguan Hong's eyes suddenly shrink. This old guy actually broke through to the 5th level of venerable. What do you want to do? A shadow of a huge sword appeared in the sky, exuding endless power, like a dazzling sword condensed by starlight. In the steel forest, Li Mu noticed that the venerable was stopped by Hai Lao. Now he is even more unscrupulous. The oncoming black palm was instantly smashed into pieces by Li Mu. He sneered and moved. The lightning under his feet kept flashing, and his aura continued to rise. And people fell in a pool of blood one after another. "If you don't let us live, then we will all die together." One of them had a crazy expression on his face, took out a bamboo slip, and turned it into powder with one hand. In an instant, another wave of venerable pressure poured out, and the battlefield outside the territory continued to tremble. The phantom of the venerable appeared, and his cold eyes fell on Li Mu. Die! A palm fell from the sky, and the overwhelming power made Hai Lao's expression suddenly change, and he wanted to help. But at this time Shangguanong stopped Hai Lao and looked at him sarcastically. This is a good opportunity to wipe out the monsters of Kyushu. No matter what, he would not let Shangguan Hong go. You're looking for death. Hai Lao was furious, the void around him kept shaking, and the sword shadows all over the sky were like stars falling down towards Shangguan Hong. In the steel forest, Li Mu's expression changed slightly, and he sneered when he looked at the crazy genius of the divine martial arts world. The sword is coming, and the thunder is rolling. Li Mu struck one blow after another, and the genius of the divine martial arts world was like paper in front of them, without any resistance. Congratulations on killing Bai Zhen, losing 5 years of cultivation, and obtaining the heaven-level martial arts Tian Mo /. Congratulations on killing Zhe Liang, losing 3 years of cultivation, and obtaining the heaven-level martial arts 13 Swords of the Stars. Congratulations. The sound of the system is endless, and Li Mu's aura is rising steadily. In an instant, a roar that shocked the world exploded from the steel forest. Boom! The devil's palm fell in the steel forest, and only a loud noise was heard. The earth is cracking rapidly like a spider web and is sinking continuously. Li Mu, seeing this scene, Hai Lao's heart suddenly sank to the bottom of his heart. This was a real blow from the Venerable. These bullies in the Shenwu world are preparing this to strangle the future of Kyushu. The dimensional space shook violently, and the void was constantly shattered like a mirror. But in the collapsing underground, a figure emerged dimly from the smoke and dust. How is that possible? Shangguan Hong screamed in shock and looked at this scene in disbelief. Li Mu held the starlight in his hand, supporting this terrifying palm with one hand, and the surrounding void continued to make explosive sounds. Suddenly, an endless power spread from Li Mu as the center. Visions of the sky appeared from above, like clouds and mist and dragons, and a bright moon. Shangguan Hong was shocked and lost his voice when he saw this. His Majesty's vision. Time stands still. It was as if the Venerable Master was frozen at this moment. Even Shangguan Hong, who was already a 4th-grade Venerable, could not help but tremble under this aura. How could he? Could it be that he has always been a half-step Venerable? Even so, only those eternal geniuses can achieve breakthroughs in battle. How could such a monster be born in tiny Kyushu? Could it be that the legendary records are true? The land of Kyushu was once. Hai Lao's eyes were red, and he looked at Li Mu, who had broken through the realm of the Venerable with great excitement. Okay. This child actually broke through the Venerable at this moment. After breaking through the Venerable realm, Li Mu could clearly see the power of heaven and earth floating in front of his eyes. He reached out and grabbed it, and the laws of heaven and earth turned into chains of order and poured into Li Mu's body. Feeling the huge power in his body, Li Mu finally understood why there was a huge gap between the Venerable and the Grand Master. From the beginning, the genius of the divine martial arts world was the stepping stone for him to break through to become a master. Suddenly, at this moment, an icy murderous intention swept over, and the temperature of the entire dimensional space plummeted to freezing point. Shangguan Hong knew very well that there was absolutely no way the JoJo monster in front of him was alive. If he is allowed to continue to grow, it will be a terrible nightmare for the entire divine martial arts world. One day, this young man will lead the venerable saints of Kyushu to occupy the divine martial world. From then on, the world they dominate will become the property of others. Kill. Shangguan Hong's silver spear was pointed directly at Li Mu. The violent yuan power turned into silver thunder, enveloping the power of law with a force as fierce as a torrential rain in the sky. Above the sky, a roaring dragon was biting towards Li Mu. The steel forest is squeezed by the terrifying force and is constantly deforming. Hai Lao's expression suddenly changed and he was about to take action. But suddenly a voice sounded in his ears, causing his expression to change again. Ebby gave him to me. Hai Lao looked at Li Mu, who was calm and composed. His heart suddenly shook, and he suddenly felt a dry mouth. No way. Li Mu was calm, and showed no fear when facing the charging angry dragon and sword light. In an instant, a sky kun exuded terrifying pressure and enveloped the entire dimensional space. Kunpang. Shangguan Hong lost his mind in shock and his whole body froze. He didn't understand how the natives of Kyushu could have such terrifying martial arts. Boom. The waves emerged, carrying the mighty power of heaven and earth to stir up a tsunami hundreds of feet high. The monstrous waves instantly swallowed the angry dragon. Immediately afterwards, Tien Kun threw his tail out, and the space was squeezed and deformed. The force that was enough to easily crush a mountain fell on Shangguan Hong. Bang! Shangguan Hong roared angrily, and the spear tip thundered again. The burst of lightning exploded with a bang, and the space was distorted in an instant. Feeling Tien Kun's power, Shangguan Hong's face changed again and again, and his hands couldn't help but tremble. Li Mu, who was on the ground, showed a cold smile when he saw this. An even more terrifying power exploded out. Boom boom boom. Huge explosions resounded through the dimensional space, and the violent power turned into invisible waves and swept out frequently. Under this power, everything will be swallowed up and shattered in an instant. Bang! Outside the steel square, Shengguan Hong, covered in blood, was embedded in the steel square. His eyes were bloodshot, his arms were mangled with blood, and the silver gun that fell aside had signs of fragmentation. After a long time, Shengguan Hong stared blankly at the sky with despair in his heart. Why wasn't such a monster born in their world of divine martial arts? Why did it appear in Kyushu? What a nightmare! This is the nightmare of the divine martial arts world. Ahem. Shengguan Hong kept coughing up blood, and the vitality in his body was disappearing bit by bit. The life force of the Venerable is not so fragile. This is all because of the laws that Li Mu has captured the power of heaven and earth and condensed it. That terrifying energy was destroying his meridians and destroying his body. Dull footsteps came slowly. Shengguan Hong reluctantly looked at the approaching Li Mu, his heart having sunk to the bottom. Ahem. Why are you so strong? Obviously, he is just a first-grade venerable who has just made a breakthrough. Why did he master this kind of power? The great power of heaven and earth, what exactly is the law you have condensed? I'm really unwilling. I can't even self-destruct. Shengguan Hong's voice gradually weakened, his breath dropped rapidly, and the dim light in his eyes gradually disappeared. Congratulations on killing Shengguan Hong. You will lose 8 years of cultivation, and gain a special physique, the Heavenly Thunder Body. Li Mu frowned slightly, feeling that the increase in power within his body was not large, and a silver arc flashed past him. Breaking through the venerable realm and trying to break through it again cannot be achieved overnight. Nowadays, the time it takes for Li Mu to break through is several times longer than before. Hai Lao looked at the dead Shengguan Hong and was speechless for a moment, looking at Li Mu with shaking eyes. A first-grade venerable can shake a third-grade venerable, and so easily. Hai Lao and Shengguan Hong are also old rivals. Back then, he and the opponent fought for hundreds of rounds in the starry sky, with no outcome. Although he is now a 5th-grade venerable, Shengguan Hong, who is in the 4th-grade venerable realm, possesses a heavenly thunder body and is very powerful. Hai Lao breathed a long sigh of relief. Even so, he could not suppress the turmoil in his heart. Shengguan Hong just mentioned the law. What kind of law did Li Mu condense? To be able to possess such mighty power. Li Mu turned his head expressionlessly and looked at Hai Lao. Then he asked in a shocking tone, "Ebi Lao, are all the sages in the divine martial arts world so weak?" When Hai Lao heard this, he wanted to hit him to death. The corner of his mouth twitched at the strong breath that hit his face. Unexpectedly, one day a junior would pretend to be in front of him. But this person is Li Mu, a first-grade venerable who has the strength to shake a third-grade venerable. Shengguan Hong is not strong in the world of Shenwu, but he is not weak either. The power hidden in the world of Shenwu is much more terrifying than what we see. There are many venerables who are more powerful than him. You must not be arrogant. After talking about it, Hai Lao paused for a moment, mainly because he was afraid of Li Mu's fearless character. If something goes wrong one day, it will be troublesome. Li Mu pondered for a while and suddenly thought of a question. Can we enter the starry sky where Hai Lao Shenwu realm is located? Hai Lao was startled and looked at Li Mu warily. Why do you ask this? Li Mu smiled harmlessly. I'm just asking you, don't be nervous. Currently, we can't do it in Kyushu. At least we have no gods in Kyushu now. God. Li Mu was suddenly startled, and his breathing became rapid. Ebi, is the God you speak of a state above the saints? Kindness. Do you know why the divine martial world can come to the Kyushu starry sky? That's because they have warriors who have stepped into the realm of gods. To be honest, if the Shenwu realm invades in full force, we in Kyushu may not be able to resist it just by relying on these saints. Hai Lao had a bitter look on his face as he spoke. To be honest, if it weren't for the reason of their Kyushu starry sky barrier. Divine Realm warriors need to maintain dimensional tunnels. Otherwise, if the Divine Realm warriors come to Kyushu, even if they devote everything they have, they may not be able to withstand the menacing divine martial world. The Divine Realm, what is the Divine Realm above the saints? Li Mu's eyes were bright and very curious. Has he become a god? I don't know much about the realm of gods. It is said that the realm of gods and warriors calls this realm the realm of virtual gods. Virtual god realm. This is very thought-provoking. It seems that he may not be a real god. In addition to the divine martial arts world, Kyushu currently has a potential threat. Hai Lao sighed, his expression filled with infinite sadness. Potential threat. Star barbarians. It turns out that there are different races in each major starry sky, and those that can dominate the starry sky are collectively called starry sky races. They live in the starry sky and are born and nurtured by the power of the stars. The strength of the body cannot be described in words. Some races in the starry sky can rival the master warriors not long after they are born. Currently, Kyushu is in contact with one of the star races. Then there are only barbarians. Star barbarians. From what Hai Lao said, Li Mu speculated that this race might also have so-called virtual gods. Currently, Kyushu and this race are in a wait-and-see attitude. But even so, the great saints in the starry sky did not dare to be careless in the slightest and were wary of the barbarians in the starry sky. After hearing this, Li Mu suddenly understood. It turns out that the starry sky is more brilliant than he imagined. The starry sky race is born with the strength of a master. There is really no comparison between Kyushu and these monster races. Hai Lao swept away the gloom, patted Li Mu on the shoulder and said with a smile, "This time, the arrogance of the Shenwu world has been stamped out. It is a blessing for JoJo to have a respected person like you in JoJo." Li Mu was silent after hearing this. In the process of returning to the Holy Court, Li Mu became familiar with the power of the Venerable to open the dimensional channel by himself. At the same time, he asked when he could go to the starry sky and meet the sages and saints of Kyushu. Hai Lao said that he would take Li Mu to the starry sky stronghold in a few days. After returning to the holy courtyard, Li Mu came to the secret realm of ferocious beasts with a large crowd. Instantly, the secret plaza was in an uproar. "It's the fawn. The fawn is back. I heard that the goddess of shepherds fought against the geniuses of foreign races all by himself. It looks like those so-called geniuses must have been defeated by the goddess of shepherds. It goes without saying that the goddess of shepherds is born holy, and even cats and dogs from other races want to compare with the goddess of shepherds. They are overestimating their abilities. These guys," the flattering words around them made Li Mu a little uncomfortable. The reason why he entered the secret realm of ferocious beasts was actually to experiment with his heaven-level martial arts. After entering the secret realm of ferocious beasts, people around him greeted Li Mu warmly when they saw him. Li Mu nodded slightly in response. With a thought, Li Mu seemed to jump out of space and disappeared from everyone's sight in an instant. On the top of a majestic mountain that submerged into the clouds, incomparably majestic spiritual power gathered. In an instant, the demonic flames surged on the blade of Luya, and the sword struck out like an ancient demon that was born, bearing its fangs and claws. Boom! The deafening explosion resounded throughout the secret realm, and the secret realm continued to shake. The students in the secret realm were terrified. They didn't understand what was happening. Until someone saw a mountain in the distance evaporate in less than a second, turning into smoke and dust falling down from the sky. Only then did he scream in shock. At this time, everyone looked towards the top of the mountain that still existed before. The majestic and terrifying power made people shocked and frightened. What kind of power can be so terrifying? The Grand Master can indeed split mountains into pieces, but making a mountain evaporate is no longer a power that a Grand Master can possess. System sounds continued to ring in my ears. Li Mu frowned slightly, and his arms burning with magic flames trembled slightly. A little uncomfortable. Demon Slayer, I'm afraid there are demons in the world. The universe they live in has many races, and the universe is so vast that countless races have been born. Heavenly Demon Slash is the most suitable heaven-level martial art for Li Mu. But another heaven-level martial arts is used by sword cultivators. If you use the system, it is not difficult to practice both swords and swords, but the speed of practice will be slower in the future. It is not that there are no warriors in JoJo who are good at both sword and sword cultivation, but there is no one who can truly achieve some success in both. 13-star swords. If he remembered correctly, this martial arts seemed to have the ability to shake the stars, recalling the stars that had fallen before. Li Mu decided to try to practice swordsmanship. If it didn't work, it wouldn't be too late to give up. Your heaven-level martial arts cannot be left to gather dust on your hands. After leaving the secret realm of ferocious beasts, Li Mu came to the scientific research room. Regarding the news about Li Mu's breakthrough to the Venerable, Hailao immediately came to tell Xie Given. When Li Mu approached, he found that Xie Given and Shiji looked at him as if they were looking at monsters. "Teacher, why do you look at me like this?" At this time, Yao Yao's eyes were filled with stars, and she fell on Li Mu with admiring eyes. "Junior brother, what's the secret to why you've become so powerful? Can you tell me some secrets?" The corners of Li Mu's mouth twitched slightly, and she couldn't understand what Yao Yao was saying. "General Hai told me everything." Xie Given looked at Li Mu with a complicated expression. After hearing this, Li Mu understood why his eyes were so strange just now. "Yao Yao, do you really want to know?" Yao Yao raised his head and nodded seriously. Even Shiji pricked up his ears, wanting to know the reason why Li Mu was such a monster. "The reason why I became so good is of course because of my hard work." Shiji's face froze and turned to stone, and soon 3 black lines appeared on his forehead. "Diligence and hard work. If I could be as evil as you through hard work, wouldn't everyone in Kyushu become a god?" Of course Shiji didn't believe this nonsense. But the innocent Yao Yao looked like he suddenly realized something. "It turns out that I haven't worked hard enough, so I was caught up by you, my junior brother. No, I have to redouble my efforts to catch up with you, my junior brother. Otherwise, how can I still be a senior sister in the future?" After the words fell, Yao Yao left the scientific research room without saying a word. As for where she went, only Xie Given probably knew. Xie Given looked at Li Mu, whose temperament had changed drastically, and couldn't help but sigh. "In a matter of months, you will be a venerable person. It feels so unreal, more than untrue. It's just a dream." Shiji muttered quietly from the side. Li Mu smiled and said nothing, looked at Xie Given and asked, "Have you used those elixirs, teacher?" "I have given the elixir to Mr. Chen Jie. Since we want to restore our vitality, it is better to use these elixirs to refine the spiritual liquid and extract the purest essence inside." Li Mu nodded slightly. If it was refined into spiritual liquid, it would be enough for Jie Given to use for a period of time. "With your strength, you can be considered a strong person in the ranks of venerables, but you have to be careful when you are in the starry sky. The dangers lurking in the stars are much more terrifying than those in Kyushu. You are now a thorn in the side of the Shenwu world, and they will not let you grow. If you lose to those guys, don't show off. You will never fall into their hands." Xie Given looked at Li Mu solemnly. The water in the starry sky is very deep, and the one in Kyushu is no exception. The interests of the major families are complicated. Even if they resist foreign enemies, they will still plot against each other internally. Moreover, there are some crises in the starry sky that are far beyond what Kyushu can compare to. Li Mu nodded, saying that he would always remember Xie Given's words. 3 days later, Li Mu came to the temple with great expectations. Hailao took Li Mu across a secret realm and came to a mysterious and unknown plane. When Yuan Li was activated, cracks like an abyss appeared in the entire plane, and a huge stone platform slowly rose underground. "What is this, Mr. Hai?" Li Mu asked in confusion. "Teleporting stone platform. It will take too long to get to the stronghold by ourselves. Using the teleportation stone platform, you can reach the starry sky stronghold in less than a minute." So that's it. Li Mu was on the teleportation stone platform. Hailao activated his Yuan power. The stone platform emitted light, and the two of them were shrouded in starlight. The next moment, the air waves surged, the sky-wide beam of light penetrated into the sky, and the billowing air waves poured everywhere. When the light dissipated, the stone platform was empty. Zui Starry Sky Stronghold. A crystal palace suspended in the starry sky, shrouded in brilliant starlight. At this moment, the central teleportation platform suddenly began to vibrate violently. Several venerables around him stopped and looked at the two figures shrouded in starlight. When the light faded, the faces of several venerables changed when they saw the young Li Mu next to Hailao. Li Mu looked at the huge crystal square and the floating stardust, his eyes full of splendor. "This is the starry sky stronghold." One of the old men with a beard came over. He had a good relationship with Hailao. He looked at Li Mu doubtfully and asked, "Old man Hai, who is this child? Bringing people here without permission is against the rules. Even you can't violate the rules." Go, go, go. Hai Lao rolled his eyes and said angrily, which of your eyes saw that I violated the agreement? Tang Zhongshan said nothing, pointed at Li Mu and questioned, isn't this kid? Hai Lao showed a wicked smile at this time and said slyly, Tang Zhongshan, you must have made mistakes sometimes. This child has not violated the agreement. He has broken through the venerable not long ago. Tang Zhongshan was stunned for a moment, then his pupils shrank into pinpoint shapes, and he looked at the other party in disbelief. Venerable breakthrough. Hearing the questioning tone, Li Mu Gujing Wubo's face changed slightly. A breath leaked out. Hiss. Tang Zhongshan and the other sages gasped at the same time. He looked at Li Mu dumbfounded. Isn't this old man dreaming? This child's bone age is not over 20, right? Old man Hai, where did you find the monster? Looking at his shocked old friend, Hai Lao finally showed a successful smile on his face. You guess. Tang Zhongshan's face suddenly darkened, and he gritted his teeth and looked at Hai Lao. Old man Hai, is it necessary? Yes, of course. Don't forget how you showed off your precious apprentice in front of me. Old man Tang, we won't talk to you if we have something else to do. You, just take your time and guess. When leaving, Mr. Hai deliberately patted Tang Zhongshan on the shoulder. The other party's face turned dark with anger, and Tang Zhongshan looked at Hai Lao's leaving figure with his teeth trembling. At the same time, I had doubts in my heart, could someone under the age of 20 really break through to the venerable level? Just like the corridor of the Crystal Palace, there are many hanging objects that look like dazzling stars. Li Mu raised his head and glanced at the bright stars, and couldn't help but asked in confusion, where are we going, Mr. Hai? Take you to meet the venerables of our holy court. Li Mu's expression changed slightly, and he followed Hai Lao to a meeting hall. At this time, dozens of venerables gathered in the meeting hall. When Ebi pushed the door open, many sharp eyes swept over him. These gazes are enough to scare a grandmaster to death. Hai Fusheng, why are you here? One of the sages dressed in black looked at Hai Fusheng in surprise. Li Mu on the side couldn't help but glance at Hai Lao next to him. From the time he met Hai Lao until now, he still didn't know Hai Lao's name. Sea Life, the venerable one who is famous in the textbooks. Old guys, look who I brought here. Several of the sages here are elders that Li Mu has met. When they saw Li Mu, their expressions instantly became uncomfortable. Old man Hai, why did you bring Li Mu here? The Federation has made rules. Non-venerables cannot reach the Starry Sky stronghold. You are not following the rules. Hai Fusheng had already guessed that these people would say this, and he did not reveal the news about Li Mu's breakthrough to the master at all to these old friends. The only people who knew about it were the saints from Kyushu and Xie. Li Mu, scare these old guys. Li Mu felt helpless. Why did Hai Lao also have a childish side? He didn't tell the other pavilion elders the news. As soon as he finished speaking, the venerable's aura swept across the meeting hall. The expression of the venerable in black suddenly changed and he looked at Li Mu in disbelief. Especially the several pavilion elders in the holy courtyard looked at them with extremely dull expressions and gaped at them. Honored sir, is this true? I'm not dreaming. Old man Ebi, what on earth is going on? What happened in the battle with the Shenwu realm? Why did this kid Li Mu suddenly become a venerable? The voices of several pavilion elders trembled with excitement. Their eyes were red as they watched, and their hearts were extremely excited. Because they seemed to have seen a supreme giant in the future of Kyushu. Li Mu briefly described what happened on the battlefield outside the territory. Good. After hearing this, several pavilion elders immediately clapped their hands and applauded, stamping out the arrogance of the Shenwu world. This is what everyone is happy to see. The black-clothed venerable man looked at Li Mu dumbfounded. It's really terrifying to suppress dozens of geniuses in the divine martial arts world by yourself. Even though he was well informed, he couldn't help but feel numb because of Li Mu's appearance. The excitement in the chamber quickly faded. Since Li Mu is already a venerable, old man Hai, you brought him here because you want him to understand what is happening in the starry sky now, right? Hai Fusheng's face softened slightly and he nodded seriously. The black-clothed venerable glanced at Li Mu, and then said seriously, so, about the meeting of the Starry Sky Zerg. It officially begins. After listening to the entire meeting, Li Mu's face gradually became serious. Star Zerg. There is another unstable threat in the Kyushu starry sky. Compared with the barbarians, Li Mu feels that the current starry sky Zerg poses a huge threat to Kyushu. The starry sky bugs are called star-devouring bugs by the Federation. They are so called because of their ability to devour stars. Star-eating insects make a living by devouring star cores. Once a star's star core is damaged, it means the end of the star's life. The Zerg are not as easy to talk to as the barbarians. They are domineering and powerful. Currently, several stars in the Kyushu starry sky have been swallowed by the Zerg. The Saint explained that the starry sky Zerg must be stopped. As for why the Saint did not come forward, part of the reason was still because of the divine martial arts world. The Starry Sky Passage and the Starry Sky City are both guarded by saints. Mr. Shu, how is the strength of the Starry Sky Zerg clan? Li Mu looked at the black-clothed venerable and asked. At the moment when we are fighting, the individual strength of the Zerg is probably around the level of a third-grade venerable, but they have lived in the starry sky since they were born and have special talents. He can inspire the stars to fight. Starlight. Speaking of which, even now, the star body refining technique has not yet reached the level of mastery. If you practice in this starry sky, can you master the star body refining technique? While Li Mu was still thinking, the door of the meeting hall was pushed open, and a distinguished man walked in with an ugly face and said in a low voice, "Everyone, please come out and take a look." Outside the starry sky stronghold, the surrounding gorgeous nebulae gathered, and an extremely large starry sky Zerg enveloped the starry sky stronghold. The strange colored eyes were extremely cold, and the dark scales covered the body like indestructible armor. Is this the star Zerg? Li Mu looked at the behemoth in front of him curiously. Except for him, the other sages looked extremely ugly. This Zerg is not the place for you. Do you want to start a war? Mr. Shu's face was gloomy, and the venerable man swept out with majesty, overwhelming the terrifying pressure of the Zerg. The eyes of the Zerg were cold, and the surrounding nebulae were shaking violently, and stardust was flying. An incomparably huge coercion suddenly enveloped the entire starry sky stronghold. Humans, you should have thought about it when you attacked our clan. The majesty of the Zerg race is not something that you puny ants can offend. Hand over the humans who hurt our race, otherwise you will be buried here today. Mr. Shu's face was livid, and he squeezed out a few words through his teeth angrily. The Zerg devours the stars of Kyushu. Naturally, we will not sit idly by and watch. Kindness. An invisible force squeezed the space all around, and the Zerg's star-like eyes stared coldly. So, you humans want to be superior to the Zerg. Ridiculous. I don't even care what you humans are like. As soon as these words were spoken, all the venerables present were instantly angered, and the starry sky rumbled. Near the stronghold, several cracks in the starry sky appeared. Several Zerg looked down at the people in the stronghold with eager eyes. Their eyes were contemptuous and disdainful, as if the venerable here was not worth mentioning. Hand in, or you all die here. The auras of the venerables burst out uncontrollably, and the five-headed starry sky Zerg in front of them was enough for them to drink a pot. If a war breaks out, the casualties will be disastrous. Buzz. Just before everyone understood what was happening, Li Mu in the crowd seemed to be out of touch with the space. In an instant, a figure appeared above a Zerg. The venerable divine weapon's sharpness was boundless, and the sword pierced through the air, and the black sword light went away like a ferocious dragon. You can even hear the faint sound of dragon roaring. The sword light is coming, and the starry sky Zerg will not be easily embarrassed. In his eyes, Li Mu is just an insignificant ant. Even though the power is so fierce, these Zerg still think it is flashy. Poof. However, when the sword light cut through their indestructible black armor. In an instant, colorful blood spurted out. What? This is impossible. The Zerg's eyes were horrified, and the severe pain in his body brought him back to reality. Human. Die. The starry sky Zerg swept away, and Nebula turned into a ferocious beast and bit towards Li Mu. Li Mu's expression remained unchanged, and he slashed across the starry sky with his sword. In an instant, the sharp sword intent seemed to occupy the entire starry sky, crushing away like a torrential rain in the sky. The two collided for the first time. Boom. The remaining power energy burst out, terrifying wind and waves flooded the surroundings, and the entire starry sky stronghold was shaking violently. Li Mu. Mr. Shu looked at Li Mu with a flash of shock in his eyes. Then his face turned cold and he shouted loudly. The Starry Sky Zerg crossed the line first. Protect the stronghold and expel them. After the words fell, the other sages also killed the Starry Sky Zerg. The leader of the Zerg race was furious, his eyes filled with burning anger. A small species dares to resist the Zerg. Destroy them. The nebula pours out the starlight, as if a hole has been opened in the starry sky, and the starry sky waterfall hangs out upside down. The terrifying energy it emits makes the venerable person change his color. Not far away, terrifying energy fluctuations oscillated out one after another. The Zerg who fought against Li Mu were extremely horrified, and he couldn't understand. Why does the tiny creature in front of you have such terrifying power? It's obviously a human being, but it can rival the Zerg individually. Simply terrifying. Li Mu crossed over and ripples spread under his feet. Tiny creature. Human beings are not objects that you can bully in your eyes. This is Kyushu. It's not the starry sky of your Zerg race. Bugs are just disgusting bugs no matter how they change. You are just a bunch of bed bugs. Li Mu said expressionlessly. The Zerg scales on the opposite side changed, as if there were thousands of tentacles squirming. Humans, go to hell. Looking at the attacking Zerg, Li Mu looked disdainful. They are just stupid bugs after all. Boom. Li Mu held the dragon tooth in his hand, and a purple light shone in his eyes, as if a strange flame was burning in his eyes. Boom. In an instant, demonic energy surged, and Li Mu's entire body was shrouded in demonic energy. His eyes were filled with scarlet red, like a world-destroying demon. Torrents of demonic flames enveloped Li Mu. The sound of the sword shook violently, and the sound of swords filled the starry sky. Li Mu faintly uttered a few words, and then slashed out with a knife. Devil, kill, boom. The light of the sword is like a river, rolling across it. The purple sword intent suddenly rushed over, and the burning magic flames turned the nebula into ashes. With one strike of the sword, all things bowed. The Zerg's eyes widened, like the eyes of stars, full of disbelief. No, under the shroud of sword intent, the Zerg's black armor shattered in an instant, like countless magic knives penetrating into the Zerg's body. In front of this sword intention, he felt for the first time what it means to be huge and what it means to be insignificant. Puff, puff, thousands of knife marks exploded instantly, and colorful blood spread across the starry sky. The limp, curled-up body floated in the starry sky, and a starry sky Zerg fell. Chapter 91. Congratulations on killing the starry sky Zerg, you will lose 10 years of cultivation. Li Mu's aura climbed higher, and his energy and blood increased a lot, but his realm still did not loosen. The sword intent across the starry sky poured out in all directions, and even the leader of the Zerg race felt a trembling feeling in his heart when he felt the sword intent. When he glanced at it, his eyes suddenly changed drastically. Looking at his companions curled up like corpses floating in the starry sky, the nebula suddenly poured out like a torrent opening. Boom. The surrounding venerables retreated into the lightning, looking at each other with horrified expressions. You, how dare you massacre my clan? I want you to pay the price. The nebulae gathered, the majestic nebula energy turned into a galactic storm, and the restless galaxy turned into a terrifying energy whirlpool. In an instant, the outpouring energy was like a galactic surge. Hai Lao's expression changed drastically, and he slashed across the starry sky with his sword. Sword shadows fill the sky, and the bright sword light is as gorgeous as the dazzling sun. Hai Lao gritted his teeth and persisted, with cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. The outpouring of galactic energy was beyond his imagination, and only a 7th-grade venerable could take on this kind of power. The rest of the venerables were fighting fiercely with the Zerg, and only a few of them could resist the incoming energy. At this moment, the distant galaxies hanging in the depths of the starry sky came with concern. The ethereal voice filled the starry sky, and Li Mu looked at Tian Kun, who was surrounded by stars, with a strange color flashing in his eyes. Tian Kun opened his huge mouth of the abyss and swallowed the galaxy. The coercion radiated swept across Xingyu. The Zerg who were trembling with the venerables were all shocked, looking at Tian Kun who was devouring the galaxy in horror. What is that? The Zerg's voice trembled, and when he saw Tian Kun, an icy chill spread all over his body. Their instinct told them that the illusory and unknown behemoth in front of them was probably their natural enemy. After swallowing the galaxy, Tian Kun made a continuous ethereal sound. A strange energy emerged from Li Emu's body, looking at the lingering starlight. He controlled Tian Kun to kill the Zerg. The giant tail that could cover the sky and the sun swept away, and the venerables looked at this scene with horrified expressions. Avoid in fear. Boom. When Nebula touched Tiankun's tail, she was unable to withstand the surging power. Many cracks burst out in an instant. The Zerg tribe suddenly lost their souls and looked at the huge Tian Kun with trembling eyes. They don't understand that as the proud Zerg in the starry sky. There are actually creatures that they are afraid of, and the creatures in front of them are just imaginary energy. Not the creature itself. The giant tail of Tian Kun slapped the void, and suddenly ripples appeared in the void. Suddenly, with the flapping of Tian Kun's giant tail, a galaxy appeared out of nowhere and headed towards the Zerg like a tsunami. Under the terrifying power, it was like thousands of troops and horses rushing to attack, like a king crushing across the border. The leader of the Zerg tribe opened a rift in the starry sky without saying a word, and even left a cruel message after escaping in embarrassment. Human. The Zerg won't let this matter go. Just wait to accept the wrath of the Zerg. Although the Zerg tribe left, the galactic attack did not stop. The faces of the venerables instantly turned pale at the oncoming galaxy. Just as they were passing by, the galaxy suddenly poured into the sky and exploded into fireworks all over the sky. The venerables looked at this scene in amazement, completely dumbfounded. Just one person drove back the starry sky Zerg, and even killed one Zerg. Everyone's eyes seemed to be seeing a monster. Tang Zhongshan felt astringent in his heart. Is this little guy really a first-grade venerable? Hai Lao looked at the crystal-clear Tian Kun and his eyes trembled. He couldn't help but said in a trembling voice, proficient in heaven-level martial arts. Boom. These words were like thunder exploding in everyone's ears. Mastery realm. Really a state of mastery. It's still the legendary martial arts, the martial arts that is closest to the ethereal divine grade. To be honest, if they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't believe it anyway. A first-level venerable master actually cultivated heaven-level martial arts to a level of proficiency. This is incredible. Tian Kun disappeared, and his fierce power gradually diminished in the starry sky. Li Mu was a little disappointed. Although he killed a Zerg, he did not lose any blood or talent. And it also allowed several other Zerg to escape. Being able to open rifts in the starry sky at will, if he mastered this ability, would he be able to sneak into the world of divine martial arts? Li Mu stepped on the void and looked at the dull elders. Boss, are you all okay? The elders were like stiff wooden stakes, as if the gears were stuck and they shook their heads stiffly. After they came to their senses, those sages who were not familiar with Li Mu gradually looked at him with awe. In the world of martial arts, strength is respected, even the older and stronger ones, they only fear those who are stronger, regardless of their age. This Zerg attack happened so suddenly that no one was prepared. If Li Mu hadn't been here, the consequences would have been disastrous. As for the conditions mentioned by the Zerg, people here have not considered them at all. The Zerg crossed the line first. If they handed over their own people, wouldn't it be a joke to the major strongholds? In the stronghold hall, all the venerables surrounded Li Mu and praised him. My little friend, it's all thanks to you this time. Without you, even if we could drive back the Zerg, our Zway stronghold would probably suffer heavy losses. The various strongholds are far apart, and it may not be possible to get them to support us for a while. This time you saved the life and death crisis. Li Mu was a little uncomfortable being surrounded by everyone, so he just said a few casual words and then got over it hastily. After arriving in a relatively quiet area, Li Mu breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at the crystal-clear wine in front of him, Li Mu took a sip. Suddenly a force of energy invaded Li Mu's meridians. This wine. Li Mu looked at the wine in the glass in surprise. This is a wine made from the rare treasures of heaven and earth. It can enhance the vitality. Although it is not very useful, it is a rare wine in all the strongholds. Hai Fusheng showed a kind smile, walked to Li Mu and explained slowly. You may not get used to this kind of situation for the first time. The more you get used to it, the more you will get used to it. In the starry sky, there is rarely such a banquet. There is endless melancholy in Hai Fusheng's words. There are many trivial things in the starry sky, especially the many uninvited guests coming to Kyushu recently. They don't understand why Kyushu can attract so many races from other stars. In the banquet hall, the venerables were singing and laughing. At this time, outside the stronghold, a middle-aged man and a young man appeared at the Zwei stronghold. Looking at the empty stronghold, their expressions suddenly became extremely ugly. Are we too late? With the combat power of the Zwei stronghold, it should be impossible to eliminate it so quickly. There are signs of fighting and blood stains at the stronghold. Uncle Feng, I'm afraid. A sad look appeared on the face of the man known as Uncle Feng. Let's go in and have a look. The two people pushed open the door and stepped into the corridor, and suddenly the sound of glasses of wine clinking together reached their ears. The two looked at the banquet hall with bright lights and glanced at each other at the same time. Without saying a word, I walked to the door, opened the door and saw the sages singing and laughing. Seeing the rotten atmosphere, Uncle Feng suddenly became furious. What the hell are you doing? Uncle Feng looked at the banquet hall in front of him, his lips almost twisted with anger. The aura of the 7th grade venerable leaked out uncontrollably. Everyone froze when they heard the sound. The moment they saw Uncle Feng, everyone's eyes widened with disbelief. Mr. Feng, why are you here? Shu Feng, dressed in black and burgundy, appeared in front of Uncle Feng like a ghost. Uncle Feng was even more furious when he saw Shu Feng, who was a little drunk, and squeezed out a few words through his teeth with a dark face. Shu Feng, you'd better tell me what's going on. Why is there no one guarding the stronghold outside? Why are you singing, dancing and having a feast here again? Hearing a roar from the other side, Li Mu frowned slightly and asked, Old Hai, who is that person? He, Feng Shang, people from the Feng family. The manager of the Tianfu stronghold is a Tianzun. Heavenly Lord, Li Mu became even more confused when he heard this unfamiliar term. It turns out that those who reach the 5th level of the realm of venerables are called Earth venerables, and those who have reached the 7th level are called Heavenly venerables. As for those at the peak of the 9th rank, they are called Venerable Wook. After listening to the explanation, Li Mu realized that the Venerable realm had the same classification as the Grandmaster realm. The drunk Shu Feng explained to Feng Shang with slurred speech. Feng Zhang's expression ranged from shock to confusion to disbelief. Is everything you said true? Feng Shang stared at Shu Feng and asked questioningly. Again, Mr. Feng, if you don't believe it, you can ask everyone present. It can't be that I unite with everyone to deceive you. The oncoming alcohol smell caused 3 more black lines on Feng Zhang's forehead. Okay, you go back first. Shu Feng watched Feng Shang shake the unfinished wine in his hand and said with a smile, Mr. Feng, don't you have a drink? When Feng Shang saw Shu Feng like this, he became very angry. Kick him over. Get out of here. Okay. Feng Shang suddenly felt helpless when he looked at everyone's eyes, and Feng Hao beside him whispered. Uncle Feng, do you believe what he just said? Why do I feel that what he said is like telling a legendary story? Is there really a person in Kyushu who is more evil than our Feng family god of war? Feng Shang was silent for a while, then whispered in his ear. To be honest, I don't really believe it either. However, the Starry Sky Zerg has definitely set foot in the Zwei stronghold. As for the authenticity, we need to confirm it ourselves. At this time, Li Mu found that the two of them had paid attention to him. Feng family, the family created by the god of war. Facing the other party's sharp gaze, Li Mu remained calm as a sharp intention swept over him. The expressions of Feng Shang and Feng Hao suddenly changed, as if they were momentarily exposed to the wave of sword intent. Not simple, Feng Hao said solemnly. He had only felt this kind of sword intention from an elder in his family. Li Mu could understand such sword intention at his age. Really a monster. Feng Zhang's eyes narrowed slightly, with a look of thought in his eyes, and he made a decision. In an instant, Feng Shang turned into an afterimage and attacked Li Mu with a terrifying pressure. Between the electric light and flint, an icy cold light shines out. Uncle Feng. Feng Hao's heart suddenly rose to his throat when he saw the scene in front of him. The dragon's tooth is only 1 centimeter away from Feng Zhang's throat. Just a slight movement is enough to kill Feng Shang on the spot. Gulu. Feng Shang was trembling inside, with cold sweat on his forehead. He forced a smile and said, Little friend, if you have something to say, I don't mean any harm. Li Mu looked at Feng Shang with his deep eyes and remained silent. After retracting the dragon tooth, He glanced at the other party and said, "If I really wanted to take action, this knife would have separated your body and head long ago." The blade left, and Feng Shang dared to breathe. At the same time, my heart was filled with shock. It is unimaginable that Li Mu is actually a first-level venerable who has just broken through. With his heavenly venerable speed, he can do it almost instantly. The blade was at his neck. It seems that what Xu Feng said is not false. A person even more evil than their Feng family god of war. It's terrible. Uncle Feng, are you okay? Feng Hao ran over anxiously and looked at Li Mu with a somewhat evil look. Fine, I didn't even scratch my skin. Hai Fusheng looked at Feng Shang with a look of pride on his face and said, "How about it, old man Feng? Our holy court is doing well in the world." Looking at the fussy Hai Fusheng, Feng Shang gritted his teeth with a dark face and said, "I really found a treasure for your holy courtyard." Hearing this, Hai Fusheng became even happier. A few years ago, the venerable people who came from the holy court were often ridiculed by the Feng family. The venerables in the holy court all held their breath, seeing Feng Zheng's deflated appearance. The venerables in the holy court couldn't bear to laugh either. Feng Shang immediately showed bitterness on his face and sighed helplessly in his heart. Who made the Feng family complain in front of the holy courtyard? Now that such a monster has appeared in the holy court, I'm afraid they would like to sneer in front of the Feng family every day. Let out the evil spirit of the past. Feng Hao, who had been silent all this time, looked at Li Mu with a deep look and suddenly said, "Is it true that you killed a star bug?" Li Mu looked at the other party and responded coldly, "Do you think this kind of thing is a joke?" After receiving the confirmation, Feng Hao took a deep breath and said seriously, "I want to challenge you." Kindness. All the venerables in the banquet hall heard the news and came out. The venerable Feng family wants to challenge Li Mu. Feng Hao is only a third-grade venerable. Although Li Mu is a first-grade venerable, his strength is still limited. No one among the venerable people present dared to treat Li Mu as an ordinary venerable person. "You want to compete with me?" What the other party said surprised Li Mu. The venerable Feng family should be able to drop some good things. Li Mu put down his wine glass and looked at the other party with a smile. "Let's go, let's fight in the starry sky." Hiss. The venerables in the banquet hall widened their eyes at the same time. They did not expect that Li Mu would agree. This is clearly a battle without any suspense. It's not like Li Mu wants to step on the Feng family and get the upper hand. That's too scary. Outside the stronghold, the two of them stood in the vast starry sky, with the bright star river flowing above their heads. The venerables all came to the square and looked at Li Mu and Feng Hao. "Old man Hai, how many moves do you think Feng Hao can do?" One move. One move. So you're sure? After all, he is also a member of the Feng family. It is said that he has been trained since he was a child. He is only 80 years old now and his strength is extraordinary. Hai Fusheng glanced at Xu Feng and said calmly, "No matter how much you cultivate, it's useless, just watch." Feng Shang frowned when he heard what the two said. Is it really that mysterious? Let's take action. Li Mu's expression was calm, and his whole body was relaxed and comfortable, as if he was not stressed at all. Feng Hao became angry when he saw Li Mu being so careless. The divine sword is unsheathed. Zheng. The sound of the sword filled the void, and the sword's intention was cruel and ferocious, like a python that had broken through the prison. Wabao. The surging sword intent hit him head-on, but it still couldn't move Li Mu. Seeing that there was no reaction from the other party, Feng Hao rushed away with his sword, turning his sword into a dragon and crushing him with a torrent of power. On the other side, Feng Shang seemed to have seen something extremely horrifying, and suddenly shouted in horror. "Xiao Hao, get out of the way." The power of the mountains and seas surged forward, and the seals of the mountains and seas suppressed them, carrying the power of the mountains and rivers, rolling down and suppressing them. It feels as if this is not a big seal, but a world. In Li Mu's hands, the power of the mountains and seas and the mountain and sea seal seemed to turn into the power of the world. For a moment, Feng Hao noticed the power coming from above, and his pupils shrank to the shape of needlepoints. The long sword cuts through the air like a flying giant piercing the sun. But just like that, the vast sword intention became very small in front of the power of the mountains and seas. Click. The shattering sound reached Feng Hao's ears, causing his complexion to change drastically. The divine sword he was holding seemed unable to withstand the power of the mountain and sea seal, and it actually broke in an instant. Boom! The mountain and sea seal exploded, and an extremely majestic energy wave poured into the surroundings, shaking the surrounding stars. Feng Zhang's figure disappeared in an instant, and he quickly caught Feng Hao, who was as powerful as thunder. Xiao Hao, wake up! At this time, Feng Hao's eyes were vacant, as if Li Emu's blow had crushed something in his heart. Congratulations on defeating Feng Hao, losing his 5 years of cultivation, and obtaining the blood of the python. Boom! In an instant, Li Emu's aura was rising steadily, and the power of the blood in his body was boiling. A billowing force of terror made all the venerables change their colors. Xu Feng looked at Li Mu with horrified eyes and said in a trembling voice, "Old man Hai, this kid is not going to break through." "No, I don't know. He only broke through a few days ago, it shouldn't be possible." The blood boils and visions fill the sky. A green dragon flew out of Li Emu's body, its roar resounded, and its pressure spread across the starry sky. In an instant, thousands of star energy turned into silk and fell down in the galaxy. In the vision of colorful auspicious clouds, a ray of golden light suddenly appeared, the light converged and formed, and a golden arch suddenly appeared on the auspicious clouds. The moment Qingjiao saw the golden arch, a pair of dragon eyes bloomed with dazzling light. Hold head high. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, the green dragon flew toward the golden arch, its body shrouded in golden light. Suddenly, the faces of the venerables all changed, and they looked at the historic scene in shock. The green dragon passed through the arch, and its body spread across the starry sky. It was thousands of feet long, which was extremely shocking. What is even more shocking is that the green dragon's 4 claws turned into 5 claws, and the dragon turned into a real dragon. The power of the dragon shook the world, the turbulent galaxies swayed, and the pressure comparable to the destruction of the world swallowed up the stars. Qinglong looked at the world like a supreme master overlooking the starry sky. In an instant, Qinglong turned into a ray of blue light and returned to Li Mu. The pinnacle of the venerable grade. The second grade of the venerable. The pinnacle of the second grade of the venerable. The third grade of the venerable. Li Emu's cultivation base has been rising steadily, and he seems to be in a new world. Holy shit! One of the venerables finally couldn't help but made a sound in shock, and fell to the ground in fear. The realm of the venerable broke through 2 realms in a row. This is still a human being. It will take several years for even a genius to break through to a venerable master, even a venerable master with insufficient talent. It takes more than 10 years or even decades to break through a realm. Li Emu's continuous breaking of mirrors hit countless venerable people present. No more alive. No more alive. I have been practicing for hundreds of years to reach my current state, and this kid caught up with me in just a few breaths. Whoever dares to tell me that hard work is useful in the future, I will definitely pick off his dog's head and kick it as a ball. Li Mu slowly opened his eyes and stretched his body for a while. At this moment, he felt light all over, and all the pressure on his body seemed to be drained away. Third grade venerable. The green dragon transforming into a dragon. Does it mean that my current bloodline has reached the legendary divine level? Dragon is undoubtedly a mythical beast in the ancient books of Kyushu, and the green dragon phenomenon itself is the manifestation of bloodline. Now that the green dragon transformed into a dragon and returned to Li Emu's body, he could feel the changes in the power of his bloodline. This power continuously fills the meridians, like the vast ocean of energy that has also transformed into the vast Milky Way. Bloodline miracle. The green dragon turns into a dragon. Could it be the legendary divine product? Uncle Feng. Feng Hao's face was pale and he looked at Li Mu with a dull expression. The power of his bloodline makes me feel so uncomfortable, as if he was born to suppress me. Feng Zhang's heart suddenly shook. The python bloodline itself was a Tianpin bloodline. Li Emu's bloodline power suppressed Feng Hao. It is very likely that the opponent has a divine bloodline. The legendary gods, even the Feng family god of war, are only of heavenly blood. And those with divine bloodline have a great chance of breaking through to the divine realm. Thinking of this, Feng Zhang's breathing became more and more rapid. Maybe he should take Li Mu to the center of Tianshu to meet the saint. It should be a divine product. Li Mu was basically certain that his bloodline had reached the legendary divine level. The blood of the dragon python. It's all thanks to the Feng family's money-giving boy. If it weren't for him, I don't know when he would be able to break through this bloodline shackles. It seems that his bloodline has broken through to the divine level, and his qualifications have also changed. Returning to the stronghold square, Hai Fusheng asked with trembling eyes and wide eyes. Li Mu, is your bloodline the legendary divine product? Li Mu was silent for a while and said uncertainly, it should be, a divine grade. Actually, I don't know myself either. It should be, a divine product. The venerables all stood there dumbfounded, even they who were well informed and had experienced countless storms. It's hard to come back to reality after seeing this scene. After all, they can be said to be witnessing the birth of history. Li Mu, come with me. Feng Shang supported Feng Hao and came to Li Mu. Li Mu frowned and asked doubtfully, let's go. Where? Tianshu Central. Since you are not sure, you can find out whether your bloodline is divine or not by going to Tianshu Center. Where is Tianshu Center? Saint's Base. One of the core central bases. Saint Base. I have to say that Li Mu was moved. How strong will the saint standing on the top of the starry sky be, and what kind of person will he be? Okay, I'll go with you. After thinking for a while, Li Mu agreed. All the venerables looked at Li Mu with envy. Even though they had been fighting in the starry sky for so long, some of them had never been to the central base. As soon as you step into the starry sky, you will meet the saint. A child who has gathered great fortune for a lifetime. Before leaving, the venerables continued the banquet that had been interrupted midway. This time Feng Shang, who has always followed the rules, also joined the banquet. Once he indulges himself, even Shufeng will feel ashamed. Being in the starry sky, there are not many days to relax. Hundreds of years have passed since the last banquet. In the Zerg starry sky, everything is dead and silent, and the stars are dim. The entire starry sky was dim, and no life could be seen, as if the entire starry sky was about to end. The humans dared to kill Xiao San. The Zerg who fled in embarrassment returned to their own starry sky, compared to their huge size. When the Zerg returned to their own starry sky, they turned into human forms, but the Zerg in human form all had different tattoos on their bodies. At this moment, a majestic pressure came across and enveloped several Zerg. The sturdy Zerg saint came from above, his face was stern, and no matter where he went, there was a suffocating cold aura all over his body. The Zerg saint glanced around, his eyes changed slightly, and a majestic pressure enveloped several people. Where's the mistress? When faced with the questioning, several people trembled all over, lowered their heads and remained silent, their bodies trembling with fear. Explain. With a scolding, several people felt as if their brains were about to burst, showing extremely painful expressions. Master Canner, the mistress. The mistress was attacked by a despicable human race, suffered an accident, and died at the hands of the human race. Boom. The pressure that was enough to turn the starry sky upside down instantly filled the entire starry sky, and several Zerg saints looked at it in shock. The Zerg saint's eyes were cold, and his terrifying aura instantly engulfed several people. Then what's the use of coming back alive? Suddenly, the energy of the terrifying nebula above gathered together, forming bright stars. The stars shook. Suddenly a terrifying pressure suppressed them, and the stars fell at a terrifying speed. Shrouded in the Zerg returning from the Kyushu starry sky. Lord Canner, Lord Canner, Lord Canner, we didn't abandon the mistress, it was the human race that caused the harm. Canner's eyes were filled with scarlet light, as if there were mountains of corpses and seas of blood hidden in them. The mistress is dead, what's the use of you coming back? You guys can bury my mistress together. The stars were about to fall on the Zerg people, and suddenly a purple light penetrated the stars. The stars suddenly exploded, and the terrifying pressure poured out all around. Many stars exploded and turned into powder due to the remaining power. Faye, what do you mean? Canner's eyes were gloomy and he looked at Faye in front of him with an unkind expression. Like a handsome young master, Faye looked at Canner calmly. Leave this matter to the arbitration committee, they can't die now. I am a saint, I have the right to decide their life and death. Faye glanced at them and continued. It's true that you are a saint, but don't forget that they are the future of the Zerg. Canner's face was extremely ugly, and the saint's threats poured into the starry sky. Hateful humans, I will make you pay the price. Canner raised his head and looked at Faye with a sinister look. What do those old guys from the Arbitration Association say? When will they launch an attack? Faye shook her head. We haven't decided yet, they still want to test it out. Snort. A group of old guys, who have been pampered for thousands of years, start to be timid at the critical moment. Convey it to them for me. If they still can't make a decision, then don't blame me for personally leading people to invade the human starry sky. As soon as the words fell, Canner's figure disappeared and jumped out of space, as if he had never been here. The faces of the few who escaped death were pale, but they were still in shock and still unable to move. Faye looked at a few people inside. On the way, Feng Hao looked at Li Mu fearfully. It was the blood aura exuding from his opponent that made him instinctively feel scared. Of course, apart from bloodline, it is strength. Uncle Feng, what are these cracks? Li Mu asked curiously, looking at the cracks lingering in the starry sky around him. Xingyuan. A common phenomenon is that the energy in the stars collides and creates a place similar to a dimensional space. So this star abyss can be entered. Certainly. And not far away, a starry sky stronghold several times larger than the Zui stronghold appeared in front. Feng Shang pointed to the Tianfu stronghold in front and said proudly, "Look, that's the Tianfu stronghold." Looking at the luxurious Tianfu stronghold, Li Mu had to sigh that there were gaps between the strongholds. Compared with this, the Zui stronghold is simply the difference between a remote country and a metropolis. When the venerables in the base saw Feng Shang coming back, they all shouted respectfully. Mr. Wind, Mr. Wind, Mr. Feng. As a Tianzun, Feng Shang is so respected no matter where he goes. After all, although there are many Zhouzhou venerables, there are not many people who have stepped into the heavenly venerables. Of course, it's more about Feng Zhang's identity. Arriving at Feng Zhang's office area, a venerable man wearing glasses walked towards Feng Shang. Mr. Feng. Feng Shang looked at the spectacled venerable and introduced to Li Mu, Deng Jia is my secretary. Although he looks like a gentleman, he is actually a 4th grade venerable. 4th grade venerable. Li Mu was a little surprised. Deng Jia's first impression of him was that he was weak. It's like the feeling of a weak scholar. Mr. Feng, who is this? Deng Jia was very surprised to see this young face. He had seen most of the sages in the Federation. Usually he would have an impression after seeing it once, but the Li Mu in front of him could not evoke any memories in him. Completely unfamiliar. Li Mu, our rising star in Kyushu. By the way, the information you gave me is true. The Zerg did attack the Zui stronghold, but the Zui stronghold is not in danger, thanks to this guy. Feng Shang pretended not to, and whispered into Deng Jia's ear. In an instant, Deng Jia's eyes widened and he looked at Li Mu in disbelief. Killed a star Zerg, real or fake? Even Deng Jia, who had experienced many storms, couldn't help but be shocked at this moment. Regarding the matter of the starry sky Zerg, you can write a report for me. Xiaohao, you stay at the base, I will take Li Mu to Tianshu Central. Deng Jia on the side couldn't help but shrink his pupils and asked hurriedly, Mr. Feng, do you want to take him to Tianshu Central? This is not in line with the rules. Feng Shang glanced at Deng Jia and said calmly, if Li Mu has divine blood, don't you think he should meet the saint? In an instant, Deng Jia stood there dumbfounded as if he had been struck by lightning. Feng Hao patted Deng Jia on the shoulder with feeling. Just get used to it. In the center of Tianshu is a vast space city with a sophisticated defense system, as well as an attack system that combines formations with high technology. If the Saint launches an attack on Tianshu Center, even the Saint will need to spend some time. The central teleportation formation, many people walked out of the formation. At this time, a pillar reaching the sky seemed to penetrate the starry sky, in the vast light. 2 figures walked out of the light pillar. Looking at the majestic center of Tianshu in front of him, Li Mu was immediately stunned. How about it? Tianshu Central Committee is just like what I said. Feng Shang smiled proudly. Li Mu took a deep breath to calm down. When did Kyushu's technology reach such a developed level that a space city was built in the starry sky? That's you. This city already existed 100 years ago. Kyushu's technological development has always been rapid, but the outside world just doesn't know it. Most of them are used to guard Kyushu and the starry sky. So that's it. Originally, Li Mu thought that the technological level of the Holy Academy was enough to shock him. Unexpectedly, there are space cities in the stars. He really didn't expect it. Feng Shang took Li Mu around and then came to a huge palace. The venerable who was standing at the door ran over quickly when he saw Feng Shang. Mr. Feng, why are you here? Feng Shang glanced at the inner courtyard and asked quietly, is the saint here? Sage Fei Hong has just returned, do you need me to inform you? Feng Shang hurriedly shook his head. No, I can just go in by myself. Feng Shang hurriedly shook his head and looked back at Li Mu. Let's go in. Fei Hong Saint. Li Mu heard someone say that he was the saint after the Wind War god. He seems to be a saint who is good at using swords. Li Mu walked through the corridor and found that there were star-like objects floating in the void all around. The corridor looks endless, as if there is no end. Buzz. The next moment, the scene Li Mu saw changed. When he came to his senses, he found himself in a special courtyard. I've seen the Fei Hong Saint. On the high platform, a saint sitting cross-legged at the table drinking tea glanced at Feng Shang lightly. Young man from the Feng family, tell me what's wrong. The ethereal voice of Saint Fei Hong spread throughout the courtyard. Although the distance was very close, it gave people a sense of distance and alienation. I'm here to take Li Mu to test his bloodline. Testing bloodline. Fei Hong Saint frowned and stared at Feng Shang. Why come here to test your bloodline? Don't all strongholds have this ability? The boy next to you is quite interesting, but even a saint like me can't see through him. Feng Shang was shocked when he heard this. Even the saints can't see through Li Mu. Saint, Li Mu's bloodline requires the use of divine stones. His bloodline is likely to be the legendary divine bloodline. The next moment, Saint Fei Hong's expression changed drastically, and he came to the two of them in an instant. Are you sure you're not joking? Fei Hong Saint stared at Feng Shang with his dark eyes. Under this gaze, Feng Zhang's legs couldn't help but tremble as he explained the whole story. After hearing this, Saint Fei Hong couldn't help but shrink his pupils and stared at Li Mu. The green dragon turns into a dragon. This kind of phenomenon would happen. Speaking of which, even I, a saint, can't see through him. Is this child really of divine blood? Thinking of this, Saint Fei Hong couldn't help but breathe quickly. Follow me. Fei Hong Saint waved his hand, and a crack in time and space appeared. Both Li Mu and Feng Shang entered the space-time rift. The next moment, Li Mu was in an empty void space, and in this void space, a sacred stone covered with runes like a mountain is placed in the void space. Put your hand up and activate the power of your bloodline. As long as the sacred stone reacts, it means you have a divine bloodline. Fei Hong Saint and Feng Shang both looked at Li Mu anxiously. Once the divine bloodline appears in this world, it will be the arrival of the prosperous age of Jojo. Li Mu put his hand on the sacred stone, and a cool feeling spread throughout his body. The power of blood explodes. You can vaguely hear the roar of dragons and tigers. Buzz. With the violent vibration, the dim runes gradually spread out with light. Suddenly, the entire void space shook violently. Neon-like clouds spread across the empty space. At the same time, thousands of stars fell in the Kyushu starry sky, and the dazzling light like the Milky Way enveloped the Kyushu starry sky. This sudden vision stunned the people in the starry sky. Boom! At this moment, the brilliance of the Milky Way gathered together, as if some creature jumped out. A green dragon with the light of stars all over its body soars outside the sky and shuttles between the stars. Dragon. It's Qinglong. The legendary beast Qinglong appears. The moment the blue dragon appeared, countless sages changed their colors. At the same time, a saint in black at the central stronghold of Yuheng slowly opened his eyes, staring intently at the vision of the starry sky. In the Zui stronghold, everyone stared blankly at the starry sky above their heads. Li Mu. It must be Li Mu. I'm afraid this kid will become famous throughout the starry sky. Be good. This vision is enough to record historical documents. In the void space, the exciting starlight gradually faded away, and Li Mu's whole body felt light and airy, as if he had received some kind of baptism. Fei Hong Saint's eyes were filled with a look of deep shock. Divine product. Undoubtedly a masterpiece. The legendary divine bloodline really appears. It's truly a masterpiece. Li Mu exhaled a breath of turbid air. With divine bloodline, he didn't have many surprises. On the contrary, he was curious about what bloodline it would be if it surpassed the divine level. So now most of the blood in my body is related to the dragon clan. Fei Hong Saint suppressed the excitement in his heart and walked up to Li Mu. Li Mu, are you interested in becoming my disciple? Hiss. Uncle Feng on the side suddenly came to his senses. The saint takes disciples. This is what everyone wants. Once you become the disciple of a saint, it is equivalent to receiving the saint's protection in disguise. It is estimated that no one will dare to trouble Li Mu in the future. Become a disciple of a saint. It's better to do it. Li Mu suddenly thought of what if he became a disciple of the saint. The venerable figure in the starry sky looked respectful to him. Then who will cause trouble for me? He also hoped that some leaks would emerge on their own. I'm really sorry, Lord Saint, please forgive me for refusing. Rejected. Feng Shang looked at Li Mu in disbelief and went crazy inside. Brat, this is a saint. Rejected. A flash of disappointment flashed in Fei Hong Saint's eyes, but he was not angry. Although he is a saint, Li Mu is the owner of a divine bloodline. This means that Li Mu will become a god in the future. And he has long given up any hope for the divine realm. With his qualifications, it would be extremely difficult to break through to the divine realm. After all, even the god of war has not reached the divine realm yet. This is for you. Saint Fei Hong suddenly thought of something and took out a jade bead and handed it to Li Mu. Saint, what is this? Li Mu looked at the jade beads in his hand in confusion. This jade bead contains my martial arts will. It can save your life in times of crisis. The martial will of the saint. Li Mu's eyes suddenly lit up. This is a good thing. Boy, thank you saint. Ha 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 ha, you kid, there's no need to be so polite. The future depends on you, a young man. Based on your qualifications, if you have any other requirements, you can mention them as long as they satisfy me. I will try my best to satisfy you. After hearing this, Li Mu suddenly thought of something and hesitated for a while. The saint said this, I really have a request to ask of the saint. I heard that you are a good hand with a knife. I want to feel your knife power. Saint Fei Hong frowned slightly and said in a deep voice, do you want to try the baptism of sword intent? Yes. Li Mu nodded. Fei Hong Saint hesitated. There are certain risks in the baptism of sword intent. If Li Mu cannot bear it, it is likely to hurt Li Mu. Release your sword intent and let me see. Saint Fei Hong just finished speaking. An astonishing sword intent burst out. The sword intent was like a surging river, emitting a force that could shake everything. The next moment, Saint Fei Hong's expression changed with shock, and he looked at Li Mu in horror. This sword intention is close to perfection. This kid is truly a monster. At present, Fei Hong Saint's sword intention is in a superb state. In this state, if there is a sword in the heart, everything can be a sword. Even a toy knife will have the power to shake the stars. After confirming that Li Mu had no problem, in an instant, a sword intent that was as hot as a sea of lava roared out. Li Mu's expression changed slightly. The whole person seemed to be in the raging flames, and the sword was hot and sharp. He felt as if he was in a hot hell, and Li Mu's sword intent was crushed. But even so, Li Mu didn't show any pain at all. Instead, he calmed down and felt the fierce sword intent. Feng Shang looked at Li Mu as if he was seeing a monster. Under such sword intent, even he couldn't hold on for long. Li Mu was actually able to hone his understanding in this craze of sword intent. It's terrible. Fei Hong Saint has always controlled the release, even if it is already so terrifying. This is not all his strength. At this time, Li Mu frowned slightly, opened his eyes and shouted, this level of saint is far from enough. Please use your full strength. Can you hold on? Fei Hong Saint asked worriedly. Li Mu nodded confidently. Boom. The sword intention almost condensed into substance, and the void space was filled with sword light, like a magic sword coming out of its sheath. If the sword intention before was like a roaring sea of fire, then the sword intention now is like the abyss of purgatory. At this time, Li Mu's expression was no longer calm, and his body was covered with stars. As for the ethereal sword intention, it has been swallowed up by Fei Hong Saint's sword intention. Not even close. Not even close. Li Mu felt as if the door was right in front of him, just one step away from touching it. Right now, the sword intent that disappeared from Li Mu reappeared, and countless thunderbolts exploded in the void. The sword's intention turned into thunder and crushed him all the way. The sudden burst of sword intent almost swallowed up the saint's sword intent. Blue thunder spread across the empty space, crushing the darkness like a silver dragon. Fei Hong's saint's eyes were as big as copper bells, and he stared at the rushing sword intent in horror. Amazing. As a saint who uses swords in martial arts, he is most sensitive to the meaning of swords. There is no doubt that Li Mu's sword intention has reached the level of perfection. And just now, at that moment, the sword intention that almost turned into thunder swallowed up his purgatory sword intention. It's hard to imagine that Li Mu is still just a venerable person. If he steps into the saint, how amazing will his sword intention be? The thunder that burst out in the void gradually weakened, and the sword intention was withdrawn. Li Mu opened his eyes and could see blue arcs jumping. Saint Fei Hong looked at the energetic Li Mu bitterly. You kid, it turns out you borrowed my sword intention to achieve perfection. Li Mu thanked him. Thank you, Saint, for making it happen. Saint Fei Hong shook his head helplessly. As a saint, his heart has not been shaken for a long time. But even when he faced Li Mu, his heart couldn't help but tremble. What shocked him was not Li Mu's strength. It's about Li Mu's potential in the future. His potential is limitless in the future. No one knows what heights he can reach. It's as if he has no upper limit. After leaving the void space, the center of Tianshu was filled with the visions that filled the starry sky before the discussion. Fei Hong Saint did not give any explanation for this matter. He even asked Feng Shang to swallow everything he saw today. At this time, Saint Fei Hong seemed to have thought of something and grabbed Li Mu. Come on, I'll take you somewhere. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Mu was forcefully pulled away by Fei Hong Saint. Only Feng Shang was left dumbfounded. Saint, Li Mu. A magnificent palace, surrounded by stars. The palace was shaking constantly, and the shock inside broke out from time to time. At this time, a crack appeared and the expressions of the venerables suddenly changed. I've seen the saint. The venerables were so powerful that everyone's eyes were full of awe. The barbarians, are they still there? I tell you, your venerable lord, that the barbarians have never left. One of the venerables responded respectfully. So what's the current record? How many wins did we have in Kyushu? Forehead. Hearing this, the face of the venerable person present suddenly froze. For a moment, they didn't know how to speak. Your Majesty, we have only 3 victories at the moment. Immediately, Saint Fei Hong's face darkened, and his face became extremely ugly. Snort. Fei Hong Saint snorted coldly and glanced at Li Mu beside him. Li Mu, let's go. When Li Mu and Fei Hong Saint stepped into the gorgeous palace, they saw the barbarians and the people from Kyushu fighting. The barbarian punched out, the void roared, and the terrifying power poured out like a torrent. Their attack is simply to smash with their fists, and only a few barbarians know how to use weapons. The gun-wielding venerables' hands were numb from the shock of this majestic power. I couldn't hold the handle of the gun for a while. The next moment, the barbarian laughed loudly and took advantage of the opportunity to directly blast the 9 provinces venerable away. Bang! Saint Fei Hong caught the venerable man with a dark face. The venerable turned around and was about to say thank you, but when he saw the gloomy face of Saint Fei Hong, he instantly became frightened. I've seen the saint. The venerable man was helpless and lowered his head and shouted in panic. At this moment, another pressure of the saint spread across the glitzy palace. The barbarian saint came over laughing and said triumphantly, Fei Hong, it seems that our barbarians are stronger. Your people are defeated frequently. The words of the barbarian saint made Fei Hong Saint's teeth itch with hatred. He lowered his head and asked Li Mu beside him in a low voice. How about it? Are you sure? Li Mu smiled confidently. Certainly. How many can I hit? It's no problem to hit 10. Okay. Saint Fei Hong patted Li Mu on the shoulder. This kind of momentum was what he wanted. The barbarian saint looked at Li Mu curiously with narrowed eyes. He could feel the different feelings Li Mu gave him. It seemed that not all people in the human race were worthless. This is the genius of our Kyushu. Let him compete with the young men of your barbarians. Oh, the barbarian saint said unexpectedly, is he the only one? Right. The barbarian saint came to Li Mu and asked with a smile, how many of them do you think you can beat, little guy? As he spoke, the barbarian saint pointed at the young-looking barbarians behind him. Everything. Li Mu responded calmly. In an instant, all the venerables in the flashy palace opened their eyes wide and looked at Li Mu in disbelief. Hit us all. This human race is too arrogant. I don't know how many humans have lost to us. How did he get such a big tone? The barbarian saint became more and more interested in Li Mu, and suddenly shouted towards the rear, "Barbarian cultivator. Come here." A sturdy young man with a strong build and bronze skin came out of the air and stared at Li Mu condescendingly. "I don't know what makes you so angry, but I will let you know that the barbarians are the strongest race in the starry sky." Li Mu smiled lightly, looking very relaxed. "Li Mu, a person who will defeat you." The two entered the ring, and the barbarian people cheered for the barbarian cultivator. "Come on, barbarian cultivator. Teach this arrogant human race a lesson. Let him know how powerful our barbarians are." The barbarian crossed his hands and looked at Li Mu calmly. "Take out your weapons. You have no use for my weapons." Li Mu shook his head and said. This sentence completely angered Manchu, and instantly a magnificent momentum burst out from Manchu. "Then let me see if your strength is as tough as your tongue." The barbarian cultivator arrived in front of Li Mu in an instant and punched Li Mu, and terrifying power poured out. The power swept across, causing many venerables to change their color. Just when Manchu was about to land his punch on Li Mu, a sudden surge of force that could crush Manchu instantly swallowed him up. "What? How is that possible?" Manchu looked horrified. Bang! I saw a figure flying backwards as fast as lightning, and the barbarian cultivator hit a pillar. The entire flashy palace seemed to shake. At this moment, time seemed to have frozen, and everyone stared at Li Mu in disbelief. OMG, I'm not looking at the flowers. That man named Li Mu actually defeated the barbarian in seconds. Even those who won before, they spent a lot of effort to win. This feels like a dream. At this time, Manchu looked confused. He never thought that he could not even sustain a single move. The rest of the barbarian tribe gathered around. What's going on with the barbarian cultivator? What did that human race do? Is he really strong? Hey, Manchu, you won't be frightened by him, will you? At this time, Manchu had a dull look on his face. When he came to his senses, his eyes were full of fear and he solemnly warned the others. This human race is different from other human races. He's not simple. In terms of pure strength, I lost. What? The other barbarians all stared at Li Mu in disbelief. In terms of strength, the barbarians actually lost. Their barbarians are famous for their physical strength. The barbarians who have stepped into the saints can even destroy the stars with their pure physical strength. How about it, Mantuo? How about our Kyushu geniuses? Fei Hong glanced at Mantuo proudly, and finally let out the bad breath in his heart. The barbarian saint did not pay attention to Fei Hong, but looked at Li Mu solemnly. In terms of pure physical strength, their barbarians actually lost. How on earth did that human race condense the physical body to that extent? Then another barbarian came on stage. Although that barbarian was careful and wary of Li Mu. But Li Mu's perfect movement skills turned into dazzling thunder and came in front of him in an instant. A strong wind surged around his ankle, and he kicked out of the entire palace and a strong wind began to blow. The barbarian was also killed by Li Mu with one move. Venerable Jojo looked excited when he saw this scene. Too strong. Another move happened in seconds. He doesn't want to defeat all the barbarians with one move. Thinking of this, the breathing of the Jojo Venerable in the palace became rapid. Congratulations on defeating the Manhi. You will lose 5 years of cultivation and gain the bloodline of the barbarian tribe. Bang! Li Mu's aura rose. He suppressed the aura from spreading and his body trembled violently. In an instant, he broke through to the peak of the 3rd level of the Venerable. And the surging barbarian bloodline was swallowed up by the Qinglong bloodline in an instant. Li Mu could clearly feel the strengthening of bloodline power. Kindness. The barbarian saint frowned. Was it just my imagination? Why does that child have the aura of my barbarian tribe? The barbarian saint's pair of star-like eyes stared at Li Mu. When he explored again, the aura had disappeared. Is it an illusion? Li Mu put his hands behind his back, scanning the remaining barbarians like a king. Don't waste time, come on together. The light words reached the ears of the barbarians, and their expressions instantly changed. They all stared at Li Mu with great anger. You are insulting the noble barbarian warrior. We never bully the minority with more. Don't be arrogant or someone will defeat you. Oh. Li Mu looked at the barbarian in surprise. It is their unique dignity. A proud warrior, interesting. If they were such barbarians, maybe Kyushu might have a good relationship with them. In that case, let's continue. You, don't let me down. The barbarians continued to play, and at first they could fight Li Mu twice, but almost in an instant, the situation turned around. They could clearly feel that Li Mu felt like he was joking from beginning to end. They simply didn't use their full strength. The barbarians were defeated one by one, and even the faces of the barbarian saints became unnatural. At this moment, the last barbarian warrior came to Li Mu. The power revealed on his body made Li Mu's expression change. This barbarian warrior is different from other barbarians. He could clearly feel the terrifying power contained in the other party, just like a silent abyss. Once it exploded, it would be extremely terrifying. Man Ni, come on, let the arrogant humans know how powerful we are. Man Ni must teach him a lesson. Man Ni looked at Li Mu expressionlessly. Let's get started. As soon as the words fell, the two figures disappeared. The void kept exploding, and terrifying fluctuations swept across all directions. Li Mu suffered a blow from Barbarian Ni, and the majestic power surprised Li Mu. Bang! There was another muffled sound, and the two of them flew out at the same time, staring at each other intently. Man Ni looked at Li Mu calmly and said, "This is not your full strength. I want to see your full strength." That's right. Li Mu chuckled, and the corners of his mouth curved. Then I'll satisfy you. Boom! The vast sword intent was like a torrent of wild beasts, rolling towards Barbarian Ni and crushing him. The dazzling thunder turned into a burst of sword light and rushed away. Man Ni's pupils tightened, and he could already feel the boundless sharpness before the sword light reached him. Suddenly, a wolf-goat club appeared in Man Ni's hand, and he suddenly smashed it towards the sword. Boom! The sudden and rapid spread of pressure caused many venerables to hold their breath. The barbarian cultivator suddenly exerted his strength and hammered it into the sky. However, the next moment, Li Mu had already arrived at his side. This is just a casual blow from me. You should understand the gap between us. Bang! A ruthless kick kicked Man Ni out of the ring. The people of the barbarian tribe stared blankly at the defeated Barbarian Ni, unable to return to their senses. They barbarians were defeated. This was the first time they had experienced such a disastrous defeat. They have always believed that the barbarians are the most powerful race. In the face of the power of the barbarians, no race can be their opponent. Before Li Mu appeared, this belief of the barbarians had never wavered. But now they have begun to doubt themselves. If the barbarians are the strongest race, why are they not the opponents of the human race? You fools, who are you showing your dejection to? Powerful barbarian warriors will never be defeated by failure. If you cannot accept failure, you will never be able to become an indomitable barbarian warrior. Remember today's failure. Remember today's pain and turn it into your strength. You will still have a chance to win back in the future. The barbarian saint reprimanded the dejected young barbarian with high spirits. At this time, no one present noticed the change in Li Mu's aura. The realm of 5th grade venerables. In just a moment, Li Mu had already broken through to the level of a 5th grade venerable. The Qinglong bloodline has indeed changed Li Mu's qualifications, otherwise the promotion speed would never be so fast. Good boy, you really shame us Kyushu. Saint Fei Hong came over laughing and patted Li Mu hard on the back. At this time, the dim eyes of the reprimanded barbarians rekindled their fighting spirit. Man Ni came to Li Mu and said firmly, "Next time, I will definitely beat you." Li Mu looked at Man Ni and smiled lightly, "I'm waiting for you." After the war, Saint Fei Hong held a specially held banquet. This banquet will be attended by all the venerables from the magnificent palace. Although personnel taking time out will cause omissions in prevention. But don't forget that there are 2 saints here, even if someone invades. There will be no trouble in the hands of a saint. Although Li Mu defeated the barbarians. But the barbarians do not hold grudges. They admire the strong and take the initiative to communicate with Li Mu. Li Mu soon became involved with them. Li Mu, is there anyone in your human race who is stronger than you? With your strength, you should be the strongest. Facing the barbarians' questions, Li Mu just smiled lightly and said, "Right now, no one should be stronger than me. But there are many people who can defeat you, but they haven't grown up yet and it will take some time. Who else can defeat us besides you? You're not kidding us." The young people of the barbarian tribe didn't believe it. After all, it was enough for them to be surprised that Li Mu could defeat them. Just wait, it won't take too long. Li Mu smiled lightly. Yao Yao's Qingluan phoenix body is also related to the legendary beast, and should be able to defeat these barbarians. However, the power of these starry sky barbarians cannot be underestimated. Humans cannot match such physical bodies. Manchu stared at Li Mu and suddenly asked, "Then how strong is your power?" "I don't know about this either," Li Mu said casually. "It's not that he is perfunctory. At the level of a 5th grade venerable, it is possible that his power now is dozens or even 20 times that of before." "What a monster. Even though you are a human being of the same age, you are actually able to cultivate your physical body to such an extent." Age the same age. Li Mu glanced at the barbarian people and asked subconsciously, "How old are you all?" 45, 42, 56. Li Mu opened his mouth slightly and looked at several people in shock. Man Ni noticed the look on the other person's face and asked in shock, Hey, Li Mu, aren't you younger than us?" Li Mu nodded. "I'm only 19. How is that possible?" "You're not lying to us, are you? You're really 19. Everyone in the barbarian tribe looked at Li Mu with horror, as if they were looking at monsters. "Do I need to lie to you about this kind of thing?" In an instant, the barbarian people fell into silence, unable to calm down for a long time. In the luxurious room, there were only 2 saints. Mantuo took a sip of Jojo's fine wine, glanced at Fei Hong and said, "We have considered what you Jojo said, as a barbarian tribe. We barbarians are willing to ally with you Jojo. But we barbarians have a condition." Fei Hong's expression faded and he asked seriously, "Say, provide technological construction for us barbarians. Although our barbarian warriors are powerful, our living standards are very backward. We barbarians need you, Jojo, to change our lives." Saint Fei Hong was stunned. He thought it was some big deal, but it turned out to be just such a small matter. "There is absolutely no problem in providing technological construction. Okay, in this case we will sign an alliance agreement in a week. I hope humans and barbarians can develop harmoniously." Fei Hong and Mantuo looked at each other for a long time, then laughed and drank together. After the banquet, Li Mu returned to the room, smelling of alcohol all over his body. "Those guys from the barbarian tribe are also a bunch of drunken lunatics. If he hadn't found an opportunity to escape, he might still be drinking with the barbarians now." Li Mu took off his clothes, entered the bathroom and took a nice bath. "After I came out, I felt much more awake." He sat cross-legged on the bed, with a faint starlight lingering around him, and he could vaguely see a bright star looming. Finally mastered. After breaking through to the 5th rank of Venerable, his star body refining finally entered the realm of mastery. Another majestic force is the power of stars. Once you reach the level of mastery, your physical body can borrow the power of the stars, thereby gaining extremely terrifying power. The Earth-level martial arts are all in the perfect state, except for the Heaven-level martial arts that were acquired relatively late before. Several other subjects have also reached mastery. With his current strength, he could instantly kill a 7th grade Tianzun. The next day, after the barbarians left, Li Mu followed the Fei Hong Saint back to the Tianshu base. After arriving at the small courtyard of Saint Fei Hong, Li Mu suddenly asked, "Sage, have you seen my father?" "Your father?" Fei Hong Saint looked at Li Mu doubtfully. "What is your father's name?" "Li Tiancheng." Li Mu originally had no hope, but after hearing the name, Fei Hong Saint's expression changed drastically. "Li Tiancheng. Li Tiancheng is your father. Do you have a picture of him?" Seeing Saint Fei Hong look so excited, Li Mu's heart sank. Could it be that the saint really has news about his father? After seeing the photo, Fei Hong's breathing became rapid, and he even trembled. "It's him. That's right, it's him. I didn't expect you to be his son. That explains it. No wonder your talent is so evil." Li Mu's face changed drastically and he asked anxiously, "Sage, do you know my father? Do you know where he is now?" "Your father is an amazing man. If it weren't for your father, I might have died at the hands of those saints from the divine martial arts world." Hiss. Li Mu's pupils tightened and he took a deep breath subconsciously. "You mean my father is a saint?" Fei Hong nodded. A look from the past appeared in his eyes. "He is an amazing saint." Li Mu was stunned. It was hard for anyone to believe such news. The father who usually seems harmless and irresponsible turns out to be a saint. Then why did he, the saint, remain unknown, and why did he leave himself? Then where is he now? Li Mu asked after regaining consciousness. Fei Hong was silent for a short while, looking at the boundless starry sky, and sighed. I don't know the specifics, but he is most likely in one place. Where? Shenwu realm. Dang dang dang. Li Mu's eyes widened again, showing an expression of disbelief. My father went to the world of divine martial arts. It is very possible that he seemed to have something in his hand that could open the starry sky channel. Otherwise, with his strength, it would be absolutely impossible for him to remain without news for so many years. Li Mu was silent. He needed time to digest the information. My father is not only a saint, but also has a treasure in his hand that can open the starry sky channel. Dad, why are you doing this? In this case, he must go to the Shenwu world. With his divine bloodline, I wonder if he can use this to open the starry sky channel. Don't worry too much. With your father's strength, there shouldn't be any accidents. He saved me from the hands of the 3 saints back then. 3 saints? Li Mu's eyes widened and he said in shock. You mean, father, he can defeat 3 saints by himself? That's right, his strength has reached a level that even I can't match. So don't worry too much. Even if he enters the world of divine martial arts, as long as he doesn't mess around, nothing will happen. Li Mu was silent for a long time. The person with such terrifying power who could rival the 3 saints turned out to be his father. It's so incredible. Thank you for your help, Saint. It's okay. Your father is my savior. Speaking of which, I should take care of you. I'll leave this jade pendant to you. With that said, Fei Hong took out a Suani jade pendant. This jade pendant has a restriction that can withstand several moves of the saint. It is regarded as a life-saving talisman. Once your talent is spread, I am afraid many people will regard you as a thorn in their side. You must be careful in the starry sky in the future. Li Mu accepted the jade pendant and thanked him. I will remember what you said, so I will go back first. Kindness. After returning to his residence, Li Mu never thought that one day he would be so irritable. Shenwuji, why did you go to the world of divine martial arts? Since you are a saint, why do you always act like an ordinary person? After knowing his father's true identity, Li Mu felt that he was not an ordinary person. On the contrary, there is a mystery hidden within him that even he cannot see clearly. His talent in cultivation may be extremely poor, but his talent in martial arts is definitely different from ordinary people. This kind of speed of martial arts progress is beyond what ordinary people can achieve. In 20 or 30 years, many people can only get started, but he, Li Mu, can become proficient. This is enough to be called a monster. Martial arts training is more difficult than cultivation. Even the current Wind War god has few perfect martial arts. Strength is still strength. As long as I have enough strength, I can solve the mystery. Deep in the starry sky, Li Mu came here alone. The Milky Way is dazzling all around, and countless stars exude charming brilliance. No one should notice it here. Li Mu wants to try. He wants to try to open the starry sky channel and go to the divine martial world. Since the bloodline has truly become the Azure Dragon bloodline, it shouldn't be difficult to control the power of the starry sky and open the starry sky channel. Moreover, the rules he currently controls are extremely overbearing and may really be able to open them up. Hold head high. The violent power suddenly erupted, the green dragon's shadow spread across the starry sky, and the terrifying power stirred up the starry sky. Both the stars and the galaxy were affected and began to tremble violently. Starlight is everywhere, and Li Mu controls the power of the starry sky with one hand and the rules with the other. In an instant, he roared, tearing apart the space and gradually opening a crack. Countless starlights shot out from the cracks like sharp swords, and the power they exuded made Li Mu feel palpitations. Bang bang bang. The starlight hit Li Mu, spreading out the concussive power. Li Mu was like thunder, and the terrifying starlight bounced him away. The torn wound healed quickly again. As expected, it still doesn't work. Li Mu frowned, not because of his lack of ability, but because the starlight flying out of the crack was too terrifying. If it weren't for his star body refining reaching the mastery level. I'm afraid it's not as simple as smashing it away. It seems that I can only become a semi-saint, or try again as a saint. Li Mu was a little disappointed by this. Of course, if Fei Hong Saint were here, his jaw would probably drop in shock. After all, this kind of thing can only be done if you are in the divine realm. But Li Mu was just a venerable person, so even if it was just a tear, it would be a very scary thing. Li Mu turned around and planned to go back. However, at this moment, an extremely terrifying wave came from the distance. A blazing heat wave came towards him, and the light spots exploding in the distance made Li Mu's expression change drastically. Something happened. The Sirius stronghold was burning with blazing flames, and the venerables were instantly slaughtered by the black shadows like the wind. The purple mist shrouded the Sirius stronghold like a veil. Stern, it turns out to be you. It turns out to be you. Why are you doing this? Qin Feng, the manager of Tinlong stronghold, roared almost madly at the long-haired man above. Yan Yan looked at Qin Feng with a cold expression. Betrayal requires a reason. Sooner or later, Kyushu will fall into the hands of the Shenwu realm. I don't want to become cannon fodder to protect Kyushu. I just want to live. Great ideals and great beliefs are nothing to me. Qin Feng made a palm move in the air, and the terrifying Yuan power was swallowed up. However, the man in black next to Yan Yan easily neutralized Wu Shui with just a flick of his finger. This fluctuation, Qin Feng's pupils tightened and he looked at the man in black with horror. Half-saint. Impossible. There is a Tianyuan saint guarding the city gate, how can a half-saint come in? At this moment, Yan Yan smiled sarcastically, and his eyes seemed to be mocking Qin Feng's ignorance and stupidity. Isn't this kind of problem obvious? Tianyuan saint also chose the world of divine martial arts. These words were like a bomb exploding in the ears of all the venerables who were fighting and resisting. How is it possible? Impossible. How can such a thing be possible? How could Tianyuan saint, a saint from Kyushu, betray him? Qin Feng was scared in his heart. He was worried that what Yan Yan said was true. If it is really the Tianyuan saint who betrays Jojo, it will be a heavy blow to the faith of everyone in Jojo. Even the saints have turned to the world of divine martial arts. Is their protection still meaningful? The position will be shaken. Absolutely impossible. Even if it's the real Qin Feng, he doesn't want to believe it. Even if it means death, I will take you away. Qin Feng's eyes were red and bloodshot, and an extremely majestic and destructive energy was accumulated in his body. Once this energy breaks out, it will be enough to destroy the entire Sirius stronghold. Not good. He wants to blow himself up. A flash of panic flashed in Yan Yan's eyes, and Lord Earth revealed that even Lord Heaven would retreat. Don't worry. With this saint here, if you want to self-destruct, you must obtain my permission. The man in black looked calm, and his power changed. In an instant, heavy pressure suppressed the restless energy in Qin Feng's body. Qin Feng was unwilling and roared ferociously. But no matter what he did, he couldn't resist the power of the semi-saint. Yan Yan walked up to Qin Feng with a cold expression, holding a chain blade and said coldly, "Old Qin, for the sake of our friendship over so many years, let me send you on your way." Beast. Qin Feng's eyes were full of hatred, and he gritted his teeth and looked at him severely. The cold blade was raised high and aimed at his neck, and it fell quickly. Farewell. Clang. The sound of gold and iron came out. Li Mu looked coldly and sternly, and said with murderous intent, "He is wrong, you are worse than an animal." Qin Feng, who was rescued, had not yet realized what happened. Suddenly, warm blood fell on his face. There were bursts of sword light, and the sharp blade easily penetrated the severe body. Yan Jun's eyes widened, and the blood on his chest gushes out like a fountain. He never expected that he would actually die in front of Qin Feng. Who is this disgusting fool? He was an earth venerable, how could he die like this? With reluctance, no matter how angry his severe heart was, he still could not escape the ending of death. A sudden scene occurred that even the half-saint did not expect. This kid. The half-saint's heart sank, and without saying a word, he used terrifying and boundless power to suppress Li Mu. Kids beware, Qin Feng shouted worriedly. Facing half a life of great power, Li Mu's expression did not change. The moment the sword was unsheathed, he could faintly hear the roar of a dragon. The blazing sword light was like the light of day, cutting through the terrifying power. The vast sword intention condensed into substance and turned into rushing thunder, which fell on other warriors of the divine martial arts world. The oncoming sword intent caused the demi-saint's expression to change drastically. With the silver spear in his hand, a silver dragon emerged. The dragon roared away, and the two collided with the void and trembled. The shock wave knocked the half-saint away. After he retreated a certain distance and stabilized, he looked at the opponent in horror. Superb! The half-saint's heart trembled. He has condensed his sword intention to perfection at such a young age. What if he continues to grow? The cold murderous intention fell on Li Mu instantly. The other party's icy eyes were like an ice cellar that was extremely chilly. Any saint would be afraid under these eyes. But Li Mu was different. Although the semi-saint was called a saint, he still belonged to the venerable. In the midst of lightning and flint, people armed with silver guns pounced on Li Mu. The tip of the spear shone a little coldly, and the shadows of the spears danced wildly in the sky, converging into a magic spear that could pierce the stars and stab Li Mu. The rolling power is coming towards you, like a mountain torrent that can easily engulf people. Li Mu's expression was stern, a magnificent force burst out from his body, and the energy contained in his meridian surged. In an instant, a burst of unrivaled sword light that could annihilate everything in the world suddenly erupted like a rainbow piercing the sun. The stars stirred, and the terrifying pressure caused the surrounding stars to tremble and shake. The sword light engulfed the divine spear, just like a wild beast disintegrating the shadow of the divine spear. The semi-saint looked horrified, and suddenly felt an icy chill. Void thunder exploded, and Li Mu, who turned into thunder, arrived behind the semi-saint in an instant. The sword fell, and the raging sword intent erupted again. But a half-saint is a half-saint after all. Although he did not completely escape, he at least escaped fatal injuries. Have you escaped? Li Mu looked at the scarlet blood on the blade, and his cold eyes fell on the semi-saint again. That gaze, which was like an abyss, made the half-saint's heart tremble violently. How is it possible? How could I be a hairy boy? I am a semi-saint, only one step away from a saint. How could something like this scare me? Go to hell. The silver spear carries the power of rules, and a terrifying world-destroying power sweeps across the stars. The spear turned into a star rainbow and killed Li Mu. Clang! Li Mu held the dragon tooth and struck casually without even using much effort. This terrifying blow was easily neutralized. Then, Li Mu's figure disappeared from the sight of the semi-saint. A cold whisper sounded in the half-saint's ears. Half-saint, this is the only way. Tear, bright blood sprayed across the starry sky, and a knife fell on the semi-saint, splitting his flesh and skin, leaving irreparable fatal injuries. Li Mu penetrated the half-saint's heart with another blow. Congratulations on killing Shangguan Yuntian, gaining 5 years of cultivation, and dropping Great Sun and Cheng Hong. 6th grade Venerable. Li Mu's aura has risen to the level of a 6th grade Venerable, but his cultivation is already at the top of the Earth Venerable level. The death of the half-saint brought about a reversal of the situation. The morale of the warriors in the divine martial arts world was greatly reduced. The death of the half-saint made them at a loss. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Master Jojo rose up to kill the enemy, and before long all the enemies in Tinlong's stronghold were wiped out. Thank you for saving my life, kid. You came just in time. If it weren't for you, the Sirius stronghold would have been destroyed. Qin Feng burst into tears, crying bitterly and thanking Li Mu at the same time. How is the situation in other strongholds of seniors? Li Mu was worried that something might happen to other strongholds, if it was really a betrayal by the saint. That would be devastating for Kyushu. Qin Feng's expression was not very good, and he said gloomily, I tried to contact other strongholds, but no one responded to me. I'm afraid our communications have been tampered with. Li Mu's expression suddenly darkened again. He looked at Qin Feng and said in a deep voice, Senior, please give me a copy of the Starry Sky map. At the same time, all the major strongholds in the Kyushu Starry Sky were attacked by the Shenwu realm. All this happened so suddenly. The moment the war broke out, several venerables died in Jojo. The difference in strength is almost overwhelming. At Zui's stronghold, Hai Lao's body was covered with blood, and he was filled with evil aura as if he had stepped out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. In the square, many people fell in a pool of blood. Although Hai Lao killed 2 venerables powerfully, he was exhausted now. Facing the 2 venerable figures in front of me, I probably wouldn't be able to hold on for a minute. Old man Hai, it's time to understand the grudges we have had for so many years. Wenren Xiongfang, who appeared in the holy courtyard, appeared again, looking at Hai Fusheng with murderous intent on his face. Hai Fusheng had killed many members of the Wenren family in his early years, and Wenren Lingyu, who was very talented in the holy court battle, eventually died in Hai Fusheng's hands. Wen Renjia and Hai Fusheng had an irresolvable hatred for a long time. It's a shame that I don't have enough energy, otherwise I would definitely kill some of your old dogs. Hai Fusheng was swaying on his back, as if he would fall to the ground if he moved even slightly. Act recklessly. I'll send you on your way right now. Wenren Xiongfang held a long sword with a fierce momentum, threatening to split Hai Fusheng into 2. Seeing Wenren Xiongfang attacking with a sword, Hai Fusheng showed a strange smile on his face. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Even if I die, I still have someone to support me. The terrifying power of energy exploded at this moment. Feeling the restless energy in Hai Fusheng's body, Wenren Xiongfang looked frightened. How is that possible? You actually still have the energy to self-destruct. Hai Fusheng laughed ferociously, like an evil ghost seeking his life, and said viciously, you in the world of divine martial arts can use dirty tricks, why can't I, Hai Fusheng? Go to hell. Boom. The terrifying energy exploded at this moment, and the entire Zui stronghold was shaking violently. The oncoming energy storm rolled in, swallowing up Wenren Xiongfang in an instant. The power of destruction invaded Wenren Xiongfang's body, and countless blood stains spread across his body in an instant. Hai Fusheng. Wenren Xiongfang roared angrily, and eventually turned into ashes and disappeared into the starry sky in this surging energy wave. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.